Hello and welcome to Hold Up, a Movie Podcast. Tonight, there are 8 men out, but yet 3 men still in. We are those 3 men. So we're here, we're gonna feel the film, we're gonna hear the lines. Does it hold up? It's podcast time. And I'll have you know, no foxes were harmed in the making of this podcast, or the third movie. So
you can't say that. You don't know what I've been up to.
Have you been roughing up foxes, Kevin? We're not cool. I'm not cool with that.
No,
I
love all animals. We're okay.
Okay, good. I'm your host, Devin, and my co-host, Chris Murphy. World Mind. How's it going, Murphy?
Oh, not so bad. I'm happy to talk some sports films with you and Mr. Kevin Millard here. I first of all want to say I'm sorry because I picked such a shit sports film. I'm sorry I made you guys watch this shit sports film. I was hoping for a little better, but that was one of the driest films we've watched on this podcast, and I can't make any excuses for that, so I apologize.
Well, we'll get there. But I think we'll start with you, Kevin, over here in Theater 1. Well, let me just go for the rundown here. We are Hold Up a Movie Podcast. Your host, Devin. Go and Chris Wilmine Murphy with guest Kevin Millard. And this is Season 2, Episode 7 of our podcast. And it is indeed about sports.
That phone should be muted.
It should be. And so should that baby. But you know.
Yeah, they can't mute the baby though.
That's just
that's
my
a
world.
crime.
Yeah.
Is it? Dang. All right, let's get into Theater 1 there. We got 8 Men Out from 1988, starring John Sayles, John Cusack, Charlie Sheen, David Strathairn, D.B. Sweeney, Christopher Lloyd, and The Rook, Michael Rooker. Directed by John Sayles as well. So, Kevin. Yes. Murphy.
The legendary John Mahoney.
Oh, John Mahoney. Oh, there's a ton of people in this movie. I could have kept it. I could have kept going. I had to cut it off somewhere. I cut it off at The Rook, Michael Rooker. So
I know a star-studded cast, yet almost nobody has heard of this movie.
Yeah, well, why did you pick this movie, Kevin Millard? I hadn't heard of this movie either.
Well, this is basically one of the VHSs I had growing up. So
Okay.
I watched this movie a lot. It's a lot of nostalgia for me.
Wore that tape out.
I did, yes. And but I hadn't seen it in years. For me, it took me right back to those times, those years. I love it. I love the story. I look at it as at this story of the Black Sox a little differently now as an adult. I think this movie is a little bit more about organized labor and
it is
kind of the evils of unbridled capitalist system, an unregulated capitalist system, and the abuses that take place.
It was sounded like a modern line to me from a modern movie where he's just like, you could pay him a living wage. Like that's that very sentence you could hear in a movie today, you know. This is an interesting movie.
When
1919, after the war, the big war.
The big one at that time.
Yeah, the big war.
Have either of you guys seen the trailer for this film before?
No,
I've not. No.
Oh, well, let's refresh our palate.
Edward Seacott, Joseph Jefferson Jackson, Arnold Gandil, Charles Risberg, Oscar Felch, Claude Williams, and George Weaver are hereby accused of conspiracy to commit a confidence game.
We're going to see the Sox.
Baseball, 1919. There were no no free agents, no million-dollar salaries, but there was a team no one could beat. The true story of the team they called the Black Sox and the scandal that broke the heart of a nation.
Any bet against my Sox this series is a sucker bet.
You can find 7 men on the best club willing to throw the World Series.
The shoeless Joe ain't in. I ain't in.
You want me?
You don't want to be stupid, do you, Joe?
Now you just sign your name right there, Joe.
I made an agreement with those guys.
A couple of Boy Scouts here, they made a deal. The players are in now. What are they gonna do, call a cop?
What'd you get it off for, Eddie?
Eddie can dump 3 games all on his own.
We don't get Eddie, we forget about it.
How many games does Mr. Seacott win for us this year?
29, sir.
You said if I won 30 games, there'd be a $10,000 bonus.
29 is not 30, Eddie.
I want to make the play. I don't feel right.
You can't welch on these guys.
Get up! I know where you're going!
They were an American dream come true, the best that ever were. 9 men took the field, but when the game was over, there were 8 men out.
What do you think of these players of yours now, Mr. Gleason?
I think they're the greatest ball club I ever seen, period.
Don't you forget it.
8 men out, written for the screen and directed by John
Is
Sayles.
this trailer frozen for you guys too, or just me?
Yeah.
It seems like it's also, I don't know why.
Yeah, well, we can skip the trailers tonight. All right.
That trailer would not have made me want to watch this movie.
No, right?
No.
It's a really bad trailer.
This movie has some hits and misses for me. Like younger me, like 12-year-old me, or like young teen me would have loved this when I was like really into team sports and stuff. Now I couldn't care. But like I like the setting of 1919 because like I could see like that being when baseball is actually exciting, whereas now it's like paint drying is like watching baseball. You know what I mean? It's just mostly just standing around. Even I played baseball for like 12 years too. Like it's boring. You mostly just stand there. Like I have more nostalgia for baseball than like actual love or anything.
me too. It's exact same for me. Like
it's so boring.
Yeah,
like,
it's. I went to a game last year and it was so boring. I didn't even know the game had started. A guy in the stands was upset with me because I turned to my aunt who I was with and I was like, "Who's playing anyway? Like, I don't care at all." Like, I was like, "Are you kidding me? What's wrong with you?"
Dare you come to a game and not know who's playing? Don't you know who's at bat?
It actually boggles my mind that people will fill a stadium just to like watch that. Like it boggles my mind all the time.
And it's more boring in person than on TV.
Way more. Like most sports are better on TV, I find, than because you get the commentary and better views and everything. But so like this would have been more up my alley before, but I still enjoyed it. Like the first half of it really got me into that like mindset of my younger self. Like I used to watch a ton of baseball movies because there's a lot of good baseball movies, especially if you like baseball. But like watching Charlie Sheen in a baseball movie made me just wish I was watching Major League instead.
This is one of 3 baseball films he was in, and this and the other 2 were Major League 1 and Major League 2.
Yeah, it would just shoot over to him and I'd be like, doom, 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 doom. But it was good, I thought. I mean, I enjoyed the first half of this movie way more than the second half. It's like I could have just got a tagline about how the court date went. I kind of didn't even need any of that myself. I would found it more interesting, the dynamics between the team while they're trying to do this fix, you know what I mean, and deciding who's in, who's out, and like all those dynamics. That was super interesting. But like later, once the gig is up, like the movie could have ended for me.
I think the court case is important though to the story that the movie is telling, because it shows that all the rich guys do get away with it,
but so do the players.
But the players.
They don't get to play baseball anymore, but
right,
they don't.
The rich guys punish the players.
Yes, they
after.
do.
So the players always lose.
True, but they didn't go to jail for their crimes.
No.
They got off. But
it seems to me kind of ridiculous to put someone in jail for cheating at betting on baseball.
They take it seriously down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's considered, a massive crime because all these rich people bet God knows how much money at the time, and a lot of them, lost out, and to have them have lost out on a rigged game, it's like it's a lot of fraud, taking place. But I enjoyed this film largely because like the cast up and down is like an all-star cast. Everyone played their roles perfectly.
Did they? Like, it was an all-star cast, but not a lot of strong acting, I felt, like, in this. David Strathairn, I thought, was very good. But, like, a lot of them were, I felt like, and John Cusack, I felt like, was quite good.
Michael Rooker is really good.
Well, he's always good,
good,
yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I felt like a lot of them were just kind of playing their part, but not bringing a lot to it. But, maybe the script didn't allow them to bring much to it as well, but I don't know. Like, Charlie Sheen could have not been in this movie, and it wouldn't have
he barely is. He's not.
Yeah, he's barely in it. Yeah, he's in a couple, like, parts. Yeah. Even his this one line where he's like, why would I, like, all the pitchers were going to get a cut. I just wanted to get a little fat, too. Why would I miss out on that kind of money? Like, that was his bit part as a character, and, his whole role.
I mean, I took scrolling at the bottom here, I took this straight from like IMDb or something, like who gets first billing and all that stuff. But David Strathairn gets fourth billing, but this is clearly the David Strathairn movie.
Yes, this is his
the star
movie.
Of this movie.
Yeah,
but he's fourth billing. Like, fine.
I was excited to find him that he was in the movie. Like, I didn't really pay attention to
He's good all the time.
Who was on
much.
the list before watching it? So I started watching it. I was like, oh, hey, it's that buddy from the news film that we watched.
and we could do like a side feature on this podcast because it keeps coming up, movies that waste Christopher Lloyd. Like every movie we've had with Christopher Lloyd in it, it's just been a waste of his incredible talent, and this is another example.
True. He's not the best part of this movie, that's for sure.
And so was that radio one, Radioland Murders, was another waste of Christopher Lloyd.
He was only filmed for one day in Radio.
Yeah, stop wasting Christopher Lloyd. If you're bringing him in, have him act in your movie. He's amazing. But anyway.
I mean, it's up to the man if he wants to come in and get a single day paycheck or not, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't waste Christopher Lloyd in my movie.
Well, I didn't feel like it was a waste. He obviously did it.
Well, I know he'll do it. Nick Cage cashes a lot of checks too, but I wouldn't waste Nick Cage in my movie. But,
yeah, no, I agree. The first portion of this film, where basically they're all, getting in on the deal, where everyone's like, "Yo, jump in. We're gonna make 20
Well, let's
grand."
toss that to Kevin, because we do have our new format on this show. What happens in the first act of your movie? How does this movie start? Just off the top of your head.
It's well, where the fuck do they start?
You don't have to be specific, just
No, I know it starts with the players.
It's like the end.
It really sets up that they hate Comiskey. They hate working for this guy.
Yeah,
and
no pay.
For almost no pay. A great scene.
Yet
is
they keep winning.
The bonus.
They're supposedly the best team ever, but none of them make any money. It's like, what the shit?
Right. And and then you see they introduce all the players through the guys talking about whether they will play ball or not, like whether they'll cheat or not. And that's a really good introduction to all of the characters, because they get to give some character traits and stuff as well. And
I did enjoy that Christopher Lloyd role. They sort of wasted him, but I liked that character where you just see him and his buddy in the stands, and they're like trying to decide who they can bring in on this fix. I found that scene pretty interesting. Like they look over at John Cusack's character and just like, no, but he hates to lose. He really hates to lose.
Put him on the maybe list.
Yeah, the maybe list. That was so funny.
Yeah, his buddy was Richard Edson. He was in the Super Mario movie. He was the skinny dumb one that followed Fisher Silvers. That's his last name. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good and stuff. He was the boxer. They're like, you didn't get that nose. Like, he's like, you saw me fight. He's just like, yeah, you sucked.
You were a bum.
Yeah, you're a bum. And there's this other guy, like the guy from Boston. I found him an interesting character. He's floating around with the money. He's trying to get this whole thing happening. Who was he played by again? The guy from Boston.
Oh God, I don't even know. I've seen him in other stuff.
Me too, but he's good in this.
Yeah.
I can't even remember.
But anyway, he's interesting.
So,
but yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Well, now I don't know where I was.
Well,
but that's it. They're just
here.
Yeah.
So you did have your favorite scene is actually within the first act of the film, which is this scene between David Stratton's character Eddie Costello.
You said if I won 30 games this year, there'd be a $10,000 bonus.
I almost picked this scene.
I think you owe it to me.
Harry, how many games does Mr. Seacott win for us this year?
29, sir.
This kind of shit still
You had
happens.
Kid bench me for 2 whole weeks in August. I missed 5 starts.
We had to rest your arm for the series.
I would have won at least 2 of those games. You knew that.
I have to keep the best interests of the club in mind, Eddie.
I think you owe me that bonus.
29 is not 30, Eddie. You will get only the money you deserve. Anything else?
No, Mr. Comiskey. That's it.
That's it, isn't it? You scenes, So, why did you pick?
Yeah,
that
I love because it just shows the shamelessness of Comiskey, like right to his face, and I love how evil he is. He knows how many games, but to do that whole saga dance, like how many games did he win for us? It just shows,
exactly.
and it sets up that you end up feeling bad for these players, even though they're cheating. You're on their side because of just how awful Comiskey is.
I want them to cheat him so bad. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Screw this Comiskey. But you're right. Like, 29 is not 30. It's just like, oh, you son of a bitch. Like, it's like he's your starter. Like, he's your biggest star. Like the guy who's been working his arm to the bow, and they even get into his physical issues where he's like he feels every pitch, every fastball down his spine, and like he's sacrificing everything for this guy.
Yeah.
But, the worst. But it's a very good scene, and it's. I thought it was a touch convenient because the scene just before that, the very scene before that, they're trying to bring Eddie in on the fix, and he's undecided. Right. It's just like, well, that's very convenient that the conversation he had just before walking into that room was about a fix. Like, it just seemed a little too convenient. I would have separated those two scenes by a couple of scenes, but it's
this
nitpick.
Is 80s,
that's a nitpick.
This is 80s movie making. I mean, you had an hour and a half get to the point, right?
It was.
Man,
this film felt like a bit long at one
good
point,
scene
for sure.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Probably didn't. Like I say, the last half dragged. I would have made that whole court thing 15 minutes instead of 45. But yeah.
So, I agree. I agree with that. I find it drags at the end as well. Not as good as the front half. I love the movie all the way through, but the front half is definitely the best.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's the strongest part of the film. There's also this you start getting through the middle, this is basically the whole second act where you start seeing money change hands between the different people that are betting behind the books. You see that.
Oh yeah, let's get to my scene then. You're leading right into mine, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, yeah.
Mr. Rothstein says he's in. 40 grand to the players up front. You hold the other 40 till they blow the series. Tell Seacott to hit the first batter if the fix is on. Anybody connects Mr. Rothstein with this, I come see you again. You don't want that.
You tell Mr. Rothstein he's got my word.
What Dick Tracy movie did they find this guy in?
Oh my god, I think he might have been in Dick Tracy.
Who was he in Dick Tracy? This whole cast could have been in Dick
Look at it, Jimmy. All spread out like that.
Who's this?
He's got his little Boston accent. Yeah, this Irish accent. I like this guy.
Yeah, Bill Irwin.
20,000 back to Boston. I want you to go over to Mulcahy. You know the password. I
Mulcahy.
want you to put it all down on Cincinnati for the first game. Tell him it's just a hunch I've got.
Some hunch.
Then, I want
So
you to
that's
take
the
this
legit
to
bet.
Guinness. You tell him you're
And here's his
sure
skim,
easy.
which is why I
want to
love this scene
place
so
10
much.
big ones on the Reds for the whole show.
Tell him I've
That's
gone
for Rothstein.
crazy. I love that part because it's the only way you get away with it, or they know a fix is in. Like all the dancing around the fix is my favorite part
You
of
know what
this
you
movie.
feed a dray horse
The-
in the morning if you want a day's work?
Like just the hiding of it and like the trying to not set off the odds because that works. If you go in and just somebody throws 40,000 on one team, that adjusts the odds.
Yeah.
Like so like the intricacies of it all. Like brass tacks, I've had somebody drop 5,000 on my lap for semi-legal gambling purposes. So that scene resonated with me as well. But
I like that scene too because it does show at the end there they're going to screw the players. Like the guys doing the fix are screwing the players too. Like big money is just screw. It doesn't matter if they're on the legal side or not. Fuck the players.
Right? Oh yeah, so he's just a straight shady gambler. That guy, I love that guy. He's my favorite character in the movie. That's probably why it's my favorite scene. And yeah, it's just like I liked his line about the players. He's just like, no, you want to know how to get the best work out of somebody. You give them just enough food to let them know they're hungry. Like, so he's just gonna drop like 1,000 on each of them. He's just like, don't worry, you'll get the rest of the 9,000 later. But
yeah, even Charlie Sheen's character said he only got like 2,000 or 3,000, and I mean, if you, I think it's adjusted for inflation. That like $10,000 at the time is about $100,000 now. So like
yeah, because David Strathairn is the star player, and he made $6,000 a year. That was his contract.
Yeah, and he's looking for an extra 10, which would have been about $100,000, which is like, you know, a lot considering.
Serious bonus, almost double your pay again.
Almost quadruple.
Yeah. So, yeah, what happens in the middle of the movie?
Oh Jesus, Davin, come on.
Well, we
More
basically
things.
described it. Like they're trying to decide out who's in, who's out. You know, it's basically that's the middle of the movie. That's the best part of the movie.
Yeah, that and baseball montages.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Not the best part. Just that happens at that time.
Baseball is more interesting in a montage, though.
Oh, gain, turn it down. The John Cusack part with like the kid, that was like a bit like hilarious, sort of interesting because like John Cusack's Buck Weaver character, he just wants to play ball. He just wants to play a straight ball game and all. He's starting to realize that all of his players around him are like putting in a fix and trying to like sell out the game. And he's like, no, I'm a talented guy, and that's his whole stance throughout this whole film, which is, you know, a bit heartbreaking, really, because the end result of everything, really.
Kind of, but I didn't really care about his character. Like, I was slightly annoyed by some of the stuff. Like, sometimes when in these period pieces from this era, I get annoyed with, like, the non-sentences, like the descriptors everybody uses, because they're trying to sound kind of more simple from a more simple time. So they're just like, well, all I'd say about that guy is there's not much to say about him. You know what I mean? Like they're just the phrases they use are just like kind of weird because no one has a good vocabulary back in those days, and it's just like I find it kind of distracting and annoying sometimes. But because sometimes I don't know how genuine that is to the time. I feel like a lot of that comes from just recordings people hear of people in more formal settings, or I don't know how authentic that really is. So I don't know.
I mean,
I
I'm
find that
sure
a
if
bit
people were
distracting
writing
times.
at the time, they would be writing their, colloquialisms within what they're writing at the time. You can generally see examples of that in any type of writing.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Like, these could be all genuine things people said at the time. Like, yeah, I'll go piss up a rope. And there was, like, a lot of shit like that. I'm just like, okay. This was almost coming off a bit hokey at times. I'm like, do people really just, like, throw this shit back and forth all the time?
Hey, frag arm. Hey, frag arm.
Oh, yeah. But it's fine. It's fine. It might be fun. It might be authentic. I don't know. I wasn't there in 1919.
No, we'd
But
be
you
very
know, you
old
just
men
get a lot of
today.
Jiminy Jillikers and all that kind of shit back in those.
Or my favorite, and this is going to be my favorite of the scene. This is basically in the third act of the film after the guys have played their baseball game. And they've sold out. They get into the whole law and order of things, and all the players are basically, signing away their NDAs about the game and how they were basically screwed or whatnot. And you get Shoeless Joe, who doesn't know how to write or anything like that. He just signs.
Doesn't know how to put on shoes, for Christ's sake.
Signs with an X,
Felt good to
walks
get it
out
off
of the
my chest.
courthouse,
You did the right thing,
thinking
Joe.
he's
We're proud of
done
you.
the right thing.
Joe, over here. Hey, what'd you say, Joe? Were you in on it?
Paparazzi.
Come on, who was
My
the big
favorite
cheese?
line.
Who did all the brain work? Why'd you wait so long to spill it, Joe?
Hard guy.
What's that?
Because the Swede is a hard guy.
Joe! Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
No, see, that's the hokey shit I'm talking about. That's awful. That's a fucking awful. Like, kids weren't like that back then. Like, what is this? The movie Shane? Shane, come back! Like, that's like
Say it ain't so, Joe.
awful.
Say it ain't so. I laughed.
That's
my
an awful
ass off
scene,
at that
Murphy.
scene. That was my favorite scene.
Especially since there's a better line almost right next to that, where Strathairn comes out and they're just like, "So did you get immunity?" Because he rats everyone out right away. Like Strathairn goes in there, he's just like, "Oh yeah, they were all cheating. We were crooked. We were crooked." He says, like, and then he walks out. There's like, "Did you get immunity?" He's just like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh," they're all just like, "What?"
Now screwed by the legal system.
None of them got anything for ratting. It was like they're such horrible rats. Like,
They all got banned from baseball.
that shit made me laugh. Well, that's the movie, I guess, isn't it? All right. Well,
I could have done without the last scene, the Joe Jackson playing baseball and the and Bucky
Those
in the
guys ain't around
stands.
no
Like,
more.
come on.
Is that him? It's gotta be him. It's just like, I don't know.
I'm telling you, it's him. It looks just like him. Nah, that ain't no Joe Jackson. Why'd he
Yeah.
be here?
Yeah, see, that was more of the hokey dialogue I'm talking about too. Like, a lot of times it slips into that kind of. It just seems like a Heritage commercial or something. Like,
Right?
This whole film did feel like a Heritage
it did.
commercial. It really did.
If they had Heritage moments down in the States, this movie would be one. Well, which performance would you guys hold up?
I think it's either John Mahoney for me, just because I'm on a big Frasier kick lately, or
He hardly did anything in this movie. What are you
I know,
talking
but
about?
everything he did was with heart and genuine awesomeness.
Oh, whatever.
Even in the trial when he's sitting at the end and they're like,
He's just
did
sitting.
you know about your boys? Did you know that your baseball players are cheating? He's like, my fellas are good baseball players. Like, it's like the
Best team I ever saw.
Best team I ever saw. Yeah, exactly. No, I think he did a great job as Kid Gleason. So I'm giving it to John Mahoney.
Okay, Kevin.
Either obviously David Strathairn or I don't know his name, but the guy from Boston.
Yeah,
That
he's my pick.
is so
the
good.
guy from
yeah.
Boston. He's so
Bill
good.
Irwin.
We have the same
Isn't it-
picks. Strathairn and the
Collins is his
Boston.
character.
But what is it?
Bill Irwin. His character's name is Eddie Collins.
Okay. Yeah, he's so good in it. And just like when they start going against him and they're not throwing the games, and he just kind of gets up and throws his thing down in the stands and kind of tips his hat to them like, "You're gonna see me again," and then he kind of walks out. Oh man, he's good. But he's got so much on the line because he's been such a shady fucker by like that skim bet he made. Like,
Yeah.
Way to double
And the guy
down
that-
on the risk. Like,
I thought Rothstein's guy is really good too. His henchman, like his assistant, the one who's like, it's all out on bets, and then he's on the phone and, what do you mean it's all out on bets? Well, you got that money.
Yeah, or he's like, hey, I heard you old Rothstein a couple. No, you got that settled. Oh, well, can you perhaps lend me like some money to just like just saying something.
all right. Well, the setting aesthetic, fine. It looks like the era. I think they did a pretty good job of recreating the era.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love the ragtime kind of thing of it. Oh, and I love the watching baseball like you're watching a string quartet in 10 forward. Like, it's incredible.
They all got a suit on and everything. Like everyone dresses
No,
up.
but
and shit.
and then you're just sitting there listening to a guy reading a tape. Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, and they like move the shit on the board. They're like, guys on first now. They're like, oh wow, like they're like watching the game in like paper figures. Like,
yeah, TV was kind of shit back then.
Apparently, even the rich guys had a shitty paper one.
Stole third. No, he's out.
Yeah. Like, on the edge of my seat. But
the best part is the room of all those rich guys, and then they like cut to later, and there's just that one dude who's just like dejected and like throws his pamphlet down, and the whole room's empty and just like chairs scattered. You're like, so many old men lost so much old money. You know you love to see it.
Oh yeah.
Movie
I'm a bit peckish, Murphy.
So, movie morsels for 8 Minute, 1988.
Why didn't you pick Moneyball? That's a good movie.
Is Moneyball a sports movie?
Yeah, it's about baseball.
Oh, well, I mean, probably because...
What do you think the ball was?
We had a baseball film on here, and it wasn't about baseball, but sports. Which is sports, but, you know, I was trying to be broad. Anyway, why are you interrupting the flow? Why you gotta always do this to me?
Oh, it's my whole vibe.
So yeah, 8 Men Out, 1988. A child in the movie utters the famous quote, "Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so." In real life, a Chicago reporter was standing close by when a boy said something to the effect of, "Say it didn't really happen, Joe." The reporter took creative license and created the "Say it ain't so, Joe" quote to give the story more emotional impact.
Proof none of that hokey dialogue shit was real. That's just a recreation. People talked more normal. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I was right to be distracted by that bullshit. Continue.
John Celeste used cardboard cutouts.
Sales.
Sales. John Sales.
Murphy's literally the worst at names. But anyway.
S-A-Y-L-E-S. Celeste. Sales.
Celeste? What is he, a Klingon?
Maybe. Maybe. You don't
Best
know this, man.
director on Konos.
This could be a classic Klingon opera that we're watching. Jeez.
Milota.
John Sayles used cardboard cutouts to help fill up the stands in the ballpark. He needed 1,000 extras to film close-ups and panning shots of live fans. To lure extras, Charlie Sheen volunteered to take part in a contest for one extra to have lunch with him. So it was an interesting way to put
lunch
it.
And then he had sex with 17 of the extras.
Yes, exactly.
In the film, Claude Lefty Williams intends to pitch an honest game in his final start and changes his mind after a mobster threatens to kill his wife.
That's the craziest part, really.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy part in the film. Elliot Asanoff included it in his book on which the film is based. He later admitted he made the incident up to thwart anyone trying to plagiarize the book. So...
And the hardest thing about this whole scheme is the manager isn't in on this shit. So as soon as he sniffs anyone throwing a game, he can just take them out of the game, which he keeps doing with the pictures. That lefty guy didn't last the first inning. He's just like, get the fuck out of here. But, like, that's all they said they needed from him. They're like, just give us the first inning, and we won't kill your wife.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
John Sayles wanted to cast Gene Hackman and Martin Sheen in the movie, but he lost out because development took so long. David Stratton was originally cast to play Shoeless Joe Jackson.
So one of those other guys was going to play Strathairn's character?
Yeah, either Martin Sheen or Gene Hackman.
Well, Gene's pretty good, but Gene Hackman, come on now. Like, Gene Hackman's bad in everything he shows up on this podcast.
Gene Hackman running bases.
No, man. Or acting, really. Hey, remember that friggin' Dutch guy he played in
It was his grand opus of acting, in my opinion. I don't think
if you haven't seen that, go do yourself a favor. Skip most of the movie and just watch Gene Hackman's scenes as the Dutch guy.
Bridge too far. Field of Dreams 1989, another depiction of the 1919 White Sox, was released a little over 6 months later. The films are credited with increasing public awareness and sympathy towards the team's plight. Public sentiment in favor of overturning Shoeless Joe Jackson's lifetime ban from Major League Baseball grew.
They don't like gambling. Pete Rose is still banned.
Yep.
The Chicago White Sox didn't make it into the World Series again until 1959, where they ultimately lost to the Los Angeles Dodgers 4-2. They finally won a World Series in 2005, defeating the Houston Astros 4-0. So, like, that's huge. That's like a 56-year gap between winning. They were cursed. The scroll of the names in the opening credits, how they were all like loopy, follows the path of a fly ball. Earlier in the film, Bill Irwin takes a piece of chewing gum out of his mouth and places it on the button of his cap. Eddie Collins did that in real life. He would put the gum back in his mouth if he had 2 strikes during an at-bat. So, gross. This was the first of Charlie Sheen's 2 back-to-back roles in a baseball movie. Sheen played another pro baseball player in Major League from 1989. And Arnold Rothstein, the gambling racketeer and crime boss in this film, was summoned to testify to the grand jury before the trial in Chicago. Prosecutors couldn't find any evidence linking him to the fixing of the series. He was murdered in 1928 after refusing to pay a $320,000 debt from a rigged poker game, which is about like...
That's a lot. That's a lot.
$3 million.
That will get you killed every time. Like, yikes.
And then this was the last and favorite of the movie morsel roles. John Anderson later reprised his role as Judge Kennesaw M. Landis in Babe Ruth. So
the final commissioner,
the final baseball commissioner that they hired. He came back and reprised the same role. So cinematography by Robert Richardson, edited by John Tintori, music by Mason Daring, released in September 2nd, 1988 with 119 minutes runtime. It had a budget of $6.1 million. It had a box office of $5.7 million. So, not quite the bang that they were hoping for.
They maybe should have spent a little more time on the trailer.
It was skipping.
Better trailer.
It was really laggy. They really should have worked the kinks out on
that. I think that might have just been
rewatchability. Kevin, I suspect for you it has a lot.
Oh yeah, totally. I'll watch this movie over and over until I die.
Fair enough. As will I with Medicine Man.
I don't know if I'd watch this movie over and over again, but I would probably rewatch it another time. It wasn't a bad film by any means. Like I enjoy a good period piece film. This is definitely up there. I like the characters. They were all portrayed. Every character had life to them. And I also like seeing like these sort of early casting roles of some of these major known stars like Cusack and Sheen and Rourke and stuff like that. It was fun little cast ensemble. That wasn't Ocean's 11.
It's a good movie, but I don't need to see it again. Like this isn't even a top 5 baseball movie for me.
Really?
Maybe not even a top 10 baseball movie. Because I used to watch a lot of baseball movies, and there's some like Sandlot is way better than this.
I think nostalgia.
So if I was gonna like get the urge to watch a baseball movie, it wouldn't be this one. So rewatchability, I'm gonna say no. But does it hold up? That's the big question. And I will start, and yes, it does. It was a good movie. It drags at the end, which it doesn't hold up well because though third acts are never the best act in a movie anymore, they're usually action-packed at least. Like movies don't like to trail off into kind of oblivion like the way this movie sort of does anymore. So that part doesn't hold up to modern viewing as well. I don't find, but
I mean, unless you're a fan of like Law and Order or something, then yeah, you'll probably dig the last third of this film. Yeah, it holds up for me. I was having fun. There was actually one scene earlier it would have been my favorite scene I would have picked, but it really wasn't much dialogue to it. It was a scene where John Mahoney's Kid Gleason.
John Mahoney is one scene. Anyway.
He does not have one scene. If you'd pay attention to the film, you would realize he had multiple scenes, you shoeless hack. No, there was a scene where Mahoney's running through the hallway. Or he's not really going through the hallways. He's going through the hallways to knock on like the door of like one person and let them know. And they sort of like one camera shot track him going through the hallways, knocking on different doors, people following him. And then they follow somebody else for a bit. And then they go back to John Mahoney as he's like finishing this like hallway scene. It was all done in one take. It was really, really well done and well blocked out scene regarding like filming and stuff. And that was honestly my favorite scene. But I just chose the one where he's like, "Say it ain't so, Joe,"
because that scene was horrible. Why not choose that one instead? Anyway, Kevin, what say you? Does it hold up?
Of course, it holds up for me.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough. Well, we've got an A movie here tonight. All right, let's see if we can keep that going. Over in Theater 2, where we have Cool Runnings. From 1993, starring John Candy, Leon, Dougie Doug, Raul D. Lewis, and Malik Yoba, directed by John Turtle Taub. Now, this was not one of these picks where I'm asking any questions in my mind. I loved this movie as a kid. I've seen this movie 25 times, probably. I don't know. But it had been quite a while, so go back to watch it was a lot of fun. And I wanted to feature more John Candy on this podcast. I think John Candy is underrated. I think he's one of the best overall actors we've produced in this country. Like he can do, and he does all of those John Candy things in this movie. John Candy does humor, of course, brilliantly, but he does drama really well as well when he gets to do the chance. But he also does intimidating really well. Like, of course, in Uncle Buck, when he's like, you want to see my shotgun? Like, and that shit. But like in this movie, when he's come like just storming down the hallway to go confront like the Olympic committee, the bobsled committee, like that's intimidating. That's intimidating John Candy. He's coming in there to like stir up some shit, you know. John Candy can do it all. So, and I think this is just an interesting. Like, we have our professional sports movie in 8 Men Out, and I thought this is, doing the Olympic thing, which I guess we sort of do again in the last movie. But this is, like, such a unique tale in the history of Olympic sport. Like, the Jamaican bobsled team and just turning sprinters into bobsledders, and the fact that it's not a success story. You know, it's a horrible failure. Like, but still manages to be heartwarming and inspirational. Like, I love this movie.
You guys probably don't remember the '88 Olympics, right? You were probably too young.
I was 4.
Yeah.
I was like 2.
The '88 Olympics were in Canada, in the country that we live in.
Well, Calgary.
And we heard nothing about Canada or anything. It was all about this Jamaican bobsled team.
Really? So it really
all
was
the
that
coverage.
big at the time?
Yes, it was
Interesting.
huge. Yeah.
Interesting. I wondered about that. Because I felt like it would have been the opposite, and like because it was in Canada, you'd just be hearing about all the Team Canada stuff and whatnot. But
like, they did cover Team Canada, but it was a lot of the Jamaican bobsled team. Everybody was enamored with it, with that idea. Like, it was awesome.
One of John Candy's last roles, I think, one of his last 3 movies. Was this one in Wagons East? I think he died right after Wagons East.
Yeah. I've been told I don't have to watch Wagons East.
You know what? Watch everything with John Candy in it, I'd say. I freaking love John Candy. Like, I'm probably going to bring it into this podcast, even though I've seen it a million times and I love it. But Uncle Buck, one of the best movies ever. Uncle Buck is freaking amazing. And one of the best performances ever. But that's the character he plays. That's the character he's playing in this movie as well. It's the guy who, underneath it all, has a good heart, but is just like a horrible failure and fuck up, and like, but also does some, you know, shady things as well. But like, within this sort of morality that makes him not irredeemable in the audience's mind. Like, this is the character that he plays so well. It just works for me every time, except in, you know, where he plays silly shit like in like Canadian Bacon. But another great movie, by the way. But yeah, all right, let's fire up this trailer. I could talk about Cool Runnings all day.
I know. That's why I decided to play the trailer.
You zigging? You zagging?
Oh, this is my favorite scene.
Always remember,
trailer?
your bones will not break in a bobsled. No. They shatter.
They shatter.
So,
I love that shit.
Who wants
Skills
it?
bobsledder.
I almost picked that scene too.
The first Jamaican
It's
bobsled
so
team.
funny.
Their dream was to compete in the Olympics. But they chose a sport
John Candy and like the most handsome man
they knew
in the
nothing
world.
about.
Great. Very good.
In a climate they had never been.
Cold weather endurance is vital to building a successful sled team.
This is the true story of 4 unlikely athletes
How about I beat your butt
This
right
movie
now?
made
How about
Dougie
I
Jones.
draw a line down the middle of your head so it looks like a butt?
who weren't prepared for what they were about to face.
Oh, I love this scene too.
It's
I
a
almost
beautiful
picked
afternoon
this.
in Calgary.
They stop
And there's a lot more coming up.
Is this whole thing a big joke? I can't get my helmet on. Oh, thanks, coach.
Why don't you put some training wheels on that sled?
Want to kiss my lucky ex?
Leave the bobsledding to the real man.
You know, you're gonna have to do this on your own one day.
You have no
Yeah,
business
Jamaica.
here, Jamaica.
People are always afraid
Yeah,
of what's
Jamaica.
different.
Now! God!
But they found in each other
Do you really expect these Jamaicans to qualify?
the courage to give it their all.
Not only are they gonna qualify, they're gonna turn some heads doing it.
I see pride. I see power.
And they took the whole world along for the ride.
Is to follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams.
Walt Disney Pictures presents
I am feeling very Olympic today.
a story for anyone who dares to stand out in a crowd,
I didn't come up here to forget who I am and where I come from.
and everyone with the courage to stand up for their dreams.
How will I know if I'm enough?
When you cross that finish line,
Where did these guys come from?
you'll know.
Cool Runnings.
So what are we going to name this sled?
Tallulah.
Tallulah.
That's my mother's name.
Tallulah. I like it.
God damn, I love this movie.
That was the better of the edited trailers. Like,
That we've
there
ever
was, like,
seen.
3 other trailers. I went to find like the original like theatrical trailer, and it was just such a boring edit.
Really? How can you make this movie boring?
Dude, they start off with like a fade slow in of Leon like kissing his girlfriend, and he's like, "I'm gonna be the fastest runner in all of Jamaica in the Olympics and stuff like that." And then they cut to a scene of them running and falling, and they're like, "They had a dream, but it wasn't gone yet." And then they like, it's just such a slow-paced, boring trailer. It makes the movie honestly look way worse than it actually is.
This movie's funny almost the entire time, and when it's not, it's heartfelt. Like, there's some good character stuff here. You really care about these characters by the end of it, because they all have their own reasons for wanting to get into the Olympics. Like, most of it's not to do with sport. Leon, maybe his character is for a sporting reason, just kind of a legacy sort of thing. But the rest of them just want off the island. And Dougie Doug, I don't even know why he's there, but like,
because he's a bobcat or a bobcat.
He's the pushcart driver.
Yeah, he's the pushcart.
But they don't even let him be the driver. They make him the brakeman. So it's like he has no reason to be there at all. He can't run. but so that's pretty funny. But you know what? The only nitpick I have for this movie is it could have used like a 20-second even scene of them, like, even like every sports movie has montages. This one doesn't really, because you know, like that's how you show training and practicing and all that with montages.
Gotta have a montage.
Well, it didn't need to be a montage, but I would like to have seen one scene where they're learning to run on ice, because they even say that line, "Yeah, but can lightning run on ice?" And they never actually show them practicing running on ice, like and getting good
Were
at
they
it.
not in a?
Yes, they do. The next scene.
Yeah.
They never show them getting good at it.
No, they never show them getting good
yeah.
at it. And all of a sudden they're in the Olympics running down the track. It's just like, well, when did they learn how to run on ice? Like, now they're Olympic athletes on running on ice. Like, it was just a big jump. And it just could have used
a big jump. There was like a 10-minute like montage of them like learning, like it starts.
But it
off
never
once
showed
the
them get
goofiness.
good.
I
It's just like humor falling down. It showed them being bad. Like,
did they ever really get good?
yes, they became Olympic athletes and made the trials, like, in which they kept lowering on them. They're like, now you have to get in under a minute. They're like, what? So anyway, this movie starts off with, as you said, there was like some sprinters in Jamaica wanting to make the Olympics, the 86 games in Seoul, I believe.
Yeah, they were gonna go for the
Seoul?
Seoul '86 Summer Games. Yeah.
So, Junior ends up tripping and taking Leon, DeReese, and Yul Brynner. Yul Brynner down with him. So, you know, they're all screwed. And they were the three fastest, so that kind of sucks for Jamaica, too, actually. Now you don't get to send your best runners to the Olympics. But, you know, they probably should have just rerun the race, but whatever. That's not how it works. So, but then DeReese, you know, he wants another shot, and he's complaining to the Olympic head guy in Jamaica, and he's just like, because his father was a sprinter as well, the Olympic gold medalist, and he sees a picture on the wall of his father and this other fellow with the gold medal. He's like, who's that guy? And he's just like, oh, he's a bobsledder, and he lives here now, and he's a bookie, and he's a disgrace, and don't talk to him. He's like, really? He lives here on the island? He's like, okay, whatever. Go talk to him, whatever. So then he goes and talks to him. What is his name? John Candy's character. It escapes me. But
I don't remember now.
Is it John or Jack? It's a simple name. Irv. Yeah, Irving Blitzer. That's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a funny scene where he's just like, basically he picks up a pool cue to like beat them with it and chases them out of the bar. And then he just like pokes in the window and he's just like, hey, but you know, Jamaican bobsled, let's do it. He's just like, but he makes a good point, because his whole thing was he thought he could turn sprinters into bobsledders, and he never got the chance to prove that theory, so he's offering him that. He's just like, well, prove your theory, man. He's just like, we all run the 100 meter in under 10 seconds, so let's do it. And then
I did like the scene where Darius is like trying to like convince him, and he's like, if you're not about bobsledding, then why do you keep the poster on the wall? And he gets up and he rips like the old
rips
poster.
it up. He's like, yeah.
And I sat there, and a part of me like I was like, oh, because I'm a big poster art fan, and like that had meaning behind it. It did, and like you're not getting another one of those. Like,
but what a great character moment
thing,
because it shows you how like the point he was trying to make. Like, well then screw all this shit. And, like, I sold my gold medal, like, which so many people do.
But Darius won't relent. He's
Super
like,
Bowl
I'll come
rings
back tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow until you say yes, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Then it cuts to just like him explaining to Sanka what a bobsled is, and he kicks the wheels off his push cart, and he's like, "That's a bobsled." And it's just like, he's like, "It's a push cart without wheels. That's what you want to do now." He's like, "Yeah, but it's on ice." He's just like, "Ice, like as in snow, as in ice." He's like, "Yeah." Like, I'm out. Dude, yeah. He's like, "I'm out." Yeah. But, like, they're so intimidated by the cold, but like that's Calgary cold. Like they walk out in the winter in Calgary, and they went from like plus 40 to like minus 30.
Yeah,
you know, like so that's a big shock. I remember going from here just to Florida one time, but like you get on the plane and it's like minus 10, minus whatever, and you get off the plane in Florida and it's 40 degrees. And
40 degrees, yeah.
It shocks you for a second, man. For a minute, you're like, ooh, gotta readjust to this.
Even the poster's tagline says, "One dream, 4 Jamaicans, 20 below zero."
But yeah, that scene where at the airport is so good. John Candy doesn't hesitate for a second, and they're just like...
And then as he's getting on the bus, he's like, "What, are you guys cold or something?"
Yeah, you guys cold? There was a cold training. Like,
and then he says it's not the heat, it's the humidity that'll get
It's the humidity. That's one of the best lines. I almost picked that too, but there's so many good lines in this movie. It was actually hard. But why don't we like throw up my favorite scene just because I'm at that point.
Technically it was in the trailer, but yeah, let's do that.
Well, it's longer. Hopefully you got a bit more of it.
Right now.
It's just so funny.
And I want to introduce you to Mr. Irving Blitzer, who's going to be our expert bobsled coach.
Like bobsledding has always seemed kind of insane to me, and luge and skeleton. It seems kind of insane. So imagine confronting a bunch of people from a tropical place, but also that don't do insane sports like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ice is unforgiving, man. I would rather
Basically,
fall
what
on
you're looking to
cement
do is
than
get
ice. It
sorry
hurts
rear
so
ends
much
from the top
falling
of an
on
icy
ice.
chute to the bottom. You're zigging, sagging. It's the biggest, coldest roller coaster you've ever been on.
I love his, like, when they crash in the video, John Candy's face is so funny. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I almost forgot. One minor drawback to this delightful winter sport is the high-speed crash. That hurt. Always remember, your bones will not break in a bobsled. No. They shatter.
Crash kills bobsledder, video over. That's the funniest fucking thing ever, man. This movie is so good.
And of course, the predictable gag of everyone being
like
gone.
Yeah, well, but it's still funny. But
wait, it is, yeah.
What was the purpose of that bobsled video? Like, that was one of those agony of defeat videos or whatever, like, right? Like, that was not a promotional video for bobsledding. It was horrific. Like, what video did he
still doesn't want to
show them? Oh, right. So he's trying to throw the... All right, makes sense. All right.
If you guys want to drive a car, quick, let's watch all of these horrific car accidents. So
Yes.
you never drive a
exactly.
car.
Let's watch this fun little movie called Blood on the Pavement.
So they practice for a while, and they can't get funding because the Olympic guy doesn't want to embarrass the country. Basically, he's like, we only take part in. We only have enough money for 3 sports, and we're not adding bobsled. Like, but they get private. Well, not so much private donors as Junior sells his car, and who knows what else he stole from his daddy. He is a rich daddy, Junior, and it was his fault anyway. So solid move on his part. It's what he should have done, I would say. Good character. Like, you get to like that character. And same with Yul Brynner, who seems like this hard ass, but really he's just not very smart. And he just wants off the island because there's, it's just, there's poverty there. And he just wants to see something else. It's a small island, If you live on a small, overcrowded island, I suspect you want to get the hell off of it. And he wants to live in Buckingham Palace. But he doesn't know it's Buckingham Palace. He's like, to live there, you're going to have to marry the queen. But,
That's a good scene.
Yeah, it is a good scene. But he's a handsome, strapping lad. He could probably marry the queen. And the queen could do worse. Prince Charles.
Well,
But,
it's funny you say that because that's pretty much just about where my favorite scene comes in between Yul Brynner and Junior. They're basically, everyone's starting to sort of bond more as a team at this point, and they're over at the bar.
Is this the fight?
No, not quite.
Dude, that thing. That guy's such. They make you hate that guy so much. He's such a piece of shit. Jamaica. I see pride.
Now look in the mirror.
I see
and tell
power.
me what you see.
This is a great scene.
You see Junior. You see Junior. Well, you want to know what I see? I see pride. I see power.
I see a badass mother
who don't take no crap of nobody.
Yeah, man. See, this is fucking
Really see all
inspirational.
that? Yeah, man. But it's not
It's all about
what
fucking
I see. It's about what you
confidence,
see.
man. Fake it till you make
Look
it.
in this mirror and tell me again what you see.
Well, I see
Pride.
pride.
Power.
Power. And I see
A badass mother who don't take no
crap off of nobody.
Again.
I see pride.
Can't hear you.
I see power. I see a badass mother who won't take no crap off of nobody.
Once again.
I see pride.
Junior.
I see power. I see a badass mother who won't take no crap off of nobody.
That's right.
Right. Junior Bevel.
Junior, he just walks out ready to start shit too. He just goes to. He's like, "Oh shit! I wasn't trying to start a fight." Like you were like, "Shit." But that's a great scene, man. Like there's so many things that you just carry with you from this movie. It's such a good movie. Yeah, I see pride. Murphy, when you look in the mirror, what do you see?
I see pride. I see power.
Yeah.
I don't
What
see a
else?
badass mother.
What else, Murphy?
I don't see a badass mother that won't take no shit
What?
from nobody.
I do. That's what I see.
Anyway, yeah, that's why I remember
That's
that
a
scene,
great scene.
from a kid and stuff, and that was. I was
But
trying
the
to
fight
make my
scene's
kid
awesome
focus.
too, because Junior goes up there and they obviously just start to beat the shit out of him, and then Yul Brynner walks up and he's just like bigger and stronger than everybody, and they're like shit. But great scene, good choice. So yeah, they get to the Olympics and they get through the trials, despite he manages to finagle them in a bobsled, but it's a rickety piece of shit, which of course comes up later. It would have been interesting to see. Now, Kevin, is that what happened? Was it just a rickety piece of shit that broke on them in the actual Olympics?
I don't know. I do know that 99% of this movie is untrue.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably not what happened. They probably just didn't do so well.
They did crash. He said the one
they did
thing
crash. Okay.
they did crash, and they, as far as I can remember, they did push it across the finish line.
Okay, awesome.
They didn't carry it. They are very heavy.
Yeah, they even say they're 700 pounds. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it was
basically-
the sled broke or whatever.
It wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't a mechanical failure. It was a
No?
speed failure. Or it was just too fast, and they lost control
Yeah.
at that one turn. But they did use the crash from the footage in the actual film.
Yes, I did notice that. It's horrifying.
Yeah. Like their heads, like
His head all bent.
It's like,
Yeah.
Oh man, great. Yeah. Remember, your bones don't break; they shatter.
They shatter.
But yeah, no, the bobsled crash that happened in the final sequence is like the real crash from the actual event.
No. That's the movie. We just went through it. Like, there's a lot of horse
it's not
shit with the
entirely
Olympic
all of the
committee,
movie.
and
There-
like John
Yeah,
Candy has to go up against all the guys. Well, he has to get. He runs up against his old teammates. Like, one of them's on the committee now, the judges, and one of them helps him get the bobsled. You know, one of my favorite scenes, and I also could have picked. Oh wait, there's still a scene to go, isn't there? A favorite scene. Let's fire that up, because it might be what I'm about to talk about. Who knows?
Okay. Well, yeah. Basically, the team has gone through the trials, and they've, after John Candy has fought for them to get into the Olympics, he over his whole scandal of adding extra weight or whatnot.
He
to
added
the
weight,
sled.
yeah.
Yeah. Which, anyway, he
And that's
they win,
is-
and Kevin's favorite scene is all that post. Just basically Darius and
Oh, there you are.
Irving have this
Dries.
chat.
How you feeling? All right.
Yeah, this
good.
one, yeah.
Good. You all set to follow in your father's footsteps?
I think so.
You think so?
All right.
Hacia paras, mother.
Like it. We're gonna go grab a bite to eat. You want to join us?
Nah.
I didn't think so. I'll
Proper
pick you
team
something
leader,
up.
though, man. Like, he's just studying while
Coach.
everyone else is out partying.
I have to ask you a question.
Sure.
But you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
He's the most likable guy ever in this movie, Dries.
I want
It's
you
just
to,
like, how do
but-
you
Yeah.
not cheer for Dries?
You can't. I understand.
You want to know why I cheated, right?
Yes, I do.
That's a fair question.
So many good lessons in this movie. It's
It's quite simple, really. I had to win. You see, Dries, I'd made winning my whole life. And when you make winning your whole life, you have to keep on winning, no matter what. You understand that?
John Candy's
No, I don't
so
understand, Coach. You had 2 gold medals. You had it all.
Dries, a gold medal is a wonderful thing.
great. He's like, yeah, man.
But if
Yeah.
you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it.
Same with money, same with a lot of things.
Hey, Coach. How will I know if I'm enough?
When you cross that finish line, you'll know.
And a mic drop. Walks away from scene. John.
So I love that because it's kind of backwards from what you usually see in sports movies. Sports movies are all about winning and all of that. And this movie, of course, is not about winning at all. There are never any delusions that they're going to win.
It's about failing with pride and power and not taking shit from nobody.
Right. And like I just love that. I love that scene. I love that that is driven home here, that winning isn't everything. Being driven that hard all the time is a road to ruin. It's
We see it time and again too in the world, man.
Yeah, and like you were saying, it's not just sports, it's in everything. In everything.
In a more almost a more honest way, John Candy's character could have said that it was like where he had to win. It's just like, no, he had to not lose. Like, he couldn't stand that. When you get into that mindset, it's not that you have to keep winning. It's kind of the same thing, but it's just like, you can't lose. You can't stomach the thought of being a loser at that point because you're the king shit. You know what I mean? It's like, it's especially with Olympic sports. You're either the champion or you're not. It's not like you can just win the next game, like in a team sports thing. You know what I mean? It's just like you either just won or you just lost, and that's it for 4 years. So like, Yeah, it's about.
And I love that line that if you're not enough without it, you're not going to be enough with it. It's a beautiful
He's
thing.
himself. He's talking about himself. He's like, I was always kind of a fucking wishy-washy piece of shit, and that's how it played out, kind of thing.
He's not talking to himself, Devin. He's talking to us, the audience.
Well, that too. I learned a lot from John Candy in a lot of movies, including this one. But yeah, so that's a movie they get into the trials. They do quite well. They just keep getting better and better and better with each run. And then they crash. And then they even win over, and then everyone claps for them. Like even the junior's father, who does show up, and just like, we're going home. And he's just like, nope, I'm not going anywhere. And his father is kind of like a shit. He's just like, what do you see when you look at me, Dad? And he's just like, I see a scared little boy who's lucky, or a lost little boy who's lucky he has a father that knows what's best. It's like, shit, man. What a thing to say to your son in that moment, where he's just asking you like for some, some support and like, love. But yeah, so great movie. But the only other great scene I don't think we talked about is when John Candy kind of storms in there, and he's just, because they're going to disqualify them. Yeah. And he's just like, well, it's embarrassing for us. And he's just like, oh, geez, I didn't know 4 black guys in a bobsled made you blush. I love that line. It was like, but then he's just like, I realize you all hate me. I'm the big cheater in the room here, so like, punish me. He ban me from the sport. I was just hanging out in Jamaica anyway. I don't give a shit, but like, don't take it out on these guys. And like, it's a great speech. But yeah, that's the movie. Cool Runnings, 1993, and interesting that you had actual memories from that time, Kevin. That's interesting to me. I always wondered how that actually played out in the media at the time.
I bet you my mom she taped all the coverage. I bet you she still has it.
Just of the Olympics in general, or because of the Jamaica thing?
No, because it was in Canada. She decided to do the whole Olympics. All the coverage
there on VHS.
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah. You still have a VCR?
I do not.
Me neither. And I kept one for quite a while. But no, we finally bit the dust. The VCRs don't last as long as video cassettes, I will say.
No.
Which performance would you guys hold up? I mean, John Candy's amazing and everything, so I'm just going to go right ahead now and pick John Candy because he's the best.
Yeah, John Candy always is going to get it forever and always, but I'm going to give it to Dougie Doug.
He's funny. As a kid, I loved that character.
Yeah.
Sanka.
Yeah, of course. I'll give it to Leon. He's
not really an actor.
Awesome.
He was kind of a model. Like, he was just like a handsome ass dude. And
he does a great job. It's a totally believable character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were all surprisingly good, like, for not being like big name actors, to hang with John Candy. Like, they hung with John Candy.
This movie was a little more Disney than I remember. I knew it was Disney, but it had been a while since I'd seen it. Yeah, but it's still it's good.
I had that feeling for like a split second when you're watching it too. I'm like, oh right, this is on Disney Plus for free. Like, yeah. But I love Disney movies, so that wasn't necessarily a negative for me either.
No.
Setting aesthetic, it looked great, man. Felt like Calgary, felt like Jamaica. They clearly went on location, but it felt like the '88 Olympics, kind of like. Yeah, they did a real good job on the sets, I thought.
I enjoyed seeing the CCCP logos and stuff.
Yeah, that was interesting. Shrines, and drive. Like, he's just like, that whole thing was funny too, and they're trying to do that, and he's just like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like smacking their heads. They're like, what are you doing?
Of course, they set up the asshole to be the East German.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That was the East German team.
Yeah, the East German team. I bet you when he meets a pretty girl, he goes, "Strein, drive."
That throws her down the ice.
Yeah. That is hilarious. Any thoughts on the setting aesthetic there, Murphy?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, yeah, it's a very Disney-esque presentation of the 80s, you know. It holds up for sure. Not a lot of thought about it. It's just like you kind of, you're in the scene.
Disney looks good. Like usually Disney movies usually look good. You don't really have to.
Yeah.
Give me some sweet ackies from Jamaica.
So, Cool Runnings 1993. Contrary to the story in movie, the Jamaican team was met with open arms by the international bobsledding team. One of the other teams...
Even the East Germans?
Yes. One of the other teams even went so far as to lend the Jamaican team a backup sled so they could qualify.
See, that's total opposite from the movie. In the movie, they have to use a backup sled, and they have no backup.
Yeah.
Not even a backup sled. They have to use an old training sled. Yeah, I would have preferred actually maybe a more authentic movie to the truth, but whatever. Fine. It's a great movie anyway.
The crash scene at the end of the movie, except for the close-up shots, was the real footage of the actual Jamaican bobsled team crash taken from the '88 Winter Olympic Games. This was the final John Candy film to be released before he died of a heart attack. Candy died 5 months later while filming Wagons East 1994, which was then released. Which was released posthumously.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Fine.
This again, I'll if you listen to me sometimes, you would have heard me say this
Murphy.
was the final John Candy film to be released before he died. But
I actually thought Canadian Bacon was after this.
Canadian Bacon did come out after this too.
So that's not true what you just said then.
No, because this was the final film he filmed to be released before he died, but he filmed Canadian Bacon before this was filmed. It was released after.
But it was released after. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fine.
Disney envisioned the original cast with Denzel Washington as Doris, Eddie Murphy as Sanka.
Who is Sanka?
Eddie Murphy as Sanka.
No, they didn't.
Wesley Snipes as Yule, and Marlon
How much
Wayans
money
as
did they want to
Junior.
spend on casting in this movie? Jesus.
Enough to get Denzel Washington, Eddie Murphy, Wesley Snipes, and Marlon Wayans.
I don't feel
That's
like this
awful.
movie would have worked with
That's
known
awful.
actors, like
with no Jamaicans.
True.
What? I mean, I don't think Dougie Doug's Jamaican, but like the rest of them are, I think.
And John Candy was always meant to be Irving Blitzer.
Well, you just wrote movies for John Candy back in those days, man, if you were smart.
Denzel Washington turned down the role of Doris Bannock, and Eddie Murphy turned down the role of Sanka Coffee, both of them balking at the pay offered.
The only one that works there is Eddie Murphy probably could have played Sanka, but I don't know.
In 2015, Dougie Doug revealed he still has Sanka's lucky eggs, as they were made of rubber.
Oh, I was wondering about those eggs. I just assumed they were hard boiled, and that's why it never broke. Like I was always expecting that to be a gag in the movie where he just like comes clean at the end that it's a boiled egg, so it doesn't have to be lucky. But that never comes up.
Yeah, it was just rubber the whole time.
Mm.
Hip hop legend Tupac Shakur auditioned for a role in this movie.
Is what? Like a main
What role?
Is not identified. Probably the role of Doris.
Man, did they ever settle on the best cast on this though? Like they were just going through bad idea after bad idea before they settled on John Candy and a bunch of Jamaicans.
Oh no, they always settled on John Candy. John Candy was always
yeah,
going to be in it, but it's just the Jamaican roles they couldn't wrap around. 42
They
minutes
tried
into
as
the
hard as they
film-
could to not hire Jamaicans, but in the end.
In 42 minutes in the film, the sound of a TIE fighter can be heard as a Swiss sled goes down the track.
Okay.
And of course, the movie portrays the Jamaican sledders as track star athletes. However, in real life, they were members of the Jamaican military.
What?
Yep.
That changes everything.
Yeah,
Like,
the
why
whole
did they-
story is.
Why did they start on this journey in the friggin' first place then?
Because Jamaica wanted to be in an Olympic sport, so they thought bobsledding
No
would be a
horseshit.
jerk.
No way. That definitely. Oh, now I want to know the real friggin' story. Do a sequel movie.
Cinematography by Faden Papamichael, edited by Bruce Green, music by Hans Zimmer, release date October 1st, 1993, runtime of 98 minutes, a budget of $17 million. Does anyone want to take a guess at the box office?
Well, I'll tell you, that whole military thing is already a...
Surprise, motherfucker.
Like I said, the budget was 17 million.
Oh, I think the box office was good on this one. I remember
the
it being
box
popular.
office was
Surprise, motherfucker.
$154.9 million.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a good, enjoyable ass movie. It should have been good, man. And honestly, John Candy sold movies back then.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone loved John Candy. Not just in this country. Like this is a Disney movie. God, I miss John Candy. All right. Well, rewatchability, tons. It's a good, heartwarming movie. It's funny. I've seen it countless times, and I will definitely watch it many more. I'll definitely show it to my daughters, and probably just watch it for my own. Like it's on Disney Plus. I'll probably just throw it on to enjoy some John Candy.
For sure. Same here.
Yeah.
It's totally rewatchable.
Yeah. It's just one of those classic feel-good films. You could put it on in the background and leave it casually playing and watch it at any interval, or just sit down and watch it from beginning.
Good
to
music
end.
too
Yeah.
when they're in Jamaica. Does it hold up? I think it holds up across the board, doesn't it, fellas?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, of course it holds up.
This was kind of a shitty pick for me because I knew it held up, but I just wanted John Candy in here, and I like this story, and yeah.
To be fair, I think we needed this like lighthearted salve on our souls
did.
before we delve into the fucking
You're
god
welcome.
awful creepy mess that
You're welcome.
I chose.
Let's all thank me and curse Murphy for a moment, shall we? All right, let's move over to Theater 3. Okay.
Wait, that's the wrong one.
Foxcatcher from 2014, starring Steve Carell, Channing Tatum, and Mark Ruffalo. And I have things to say about all three of those performances. Directed by Bennett Miller. Murphy, why did you do this to us?
Why did I pick this film? First and foremost, I picked this film because I wanted to have a wrestling film, and I couldn't pick The Iron Claw because you would have been like,
It's not a
"Wrestling's
sport."
not a sport." Yeah, exactly. So I just decided to just completely sidestep that entire conversation and pick a film about Olympic wrestling, which you can't deny is
sport.
not a sport. So
The first sport, other than running.
I went with the Foxcatcher film because, I remember a whole shebang about it during 2016 and how much,
14.
That came out in 2016. Or no, it
14.
came out in 2014. There was a documentary in 2016. Anyway, sorry. The whole, Steve Carell putting on, like, all this makeup and basically...
His first drama
method
role,
acting.
too, really,
Yeah,
right?
it's his first drama role, and he was like method acting, and I heard all this stuff.
How?
So I was like,
How did he method? Did he like get addicted to cocaine? Like, how did he method act a coke addicted rich person?
he was well, Michael Bennett didn't want any joking or jovialness happening between takes on scenes, and so he just kind of like maintained
was super serious
exterior, super serious and dour, and he maintained a creepy exterior, and nobody wanted to hang out with him between takes.
He also killed 4 wrestling coaches during taping.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to get a taste for it.
Brandon Lee style.
Now, unfortunately, he has a lust for it, and he hasn't stopped since.
So yeah, that's these were the reasons why I picked Foxcatcher.
All right. Well,
am I happy I picked this film after watching it? No. I'm really. It was honestly a very disappointing and dry film.
But
a twisted tale.
Every line it delivered is pure agony.
Yeah.
For the viewer, it is
dry.
And the acting is terrible. Like, these are 3
awful.
Pretty. I don't know about Channing Tatum, but Steve Carell is funny at least. Mark Ruffalo is a good actor, but Mark Ruffalo is horrible in this because of the way he holds his fucking arms. Like, he always has these limp wrists. And he always, like, whenever his character's standing, he just stands like that. And you know what that is?
Mr. Burns?
Like, I always took Mark Ruffalo as, like, a smarter person than that. No. Like, wrestlers do that after a wrestling match because they're so physically exhausted. They just kind of stand there like that. But Mark Ruffalo saw a picture of his character after a wrestling match holding his arms like that and just assumed that's how he stood all the time. So, like, through this whole movie, Mark Ruffalo's just standing there like this. Like, it's so distracting.
I don't know. I know that never stood.
Go
out to
back
me
and
or
watch
was
it.
It did to me. No, don't go back and watch it.
No, but like, it's so distracting. He just stands there like he's trying to make this character seem less intelligent too. He's just like making him like this ape that just stands there like an idiot. Like, it's awful. It's awful. This is the worst I've ever seen Mark Ruffalo.
Well, this film, you know, has some creative liberties taken with it. Yeah, it's so long and very dry, and some of the events that were portrayed in the movie didn't exactly happen the way they happened.
What I'll say about those events, though, is I wouldn't have even finished this movie if I didn't know about these events, because it just would have been a boring as shit movie about weirdos and wrestling. But like, I knew there was a murder coming, so I'm like, well, let's just see how the murder happens. Like,
that was my experience.
Knowing that, I would have shut the shit off and told you I watched it.
I had no idea. I'd never heard any of this.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing.
Oh, you didn't know any at all. That's
nothing.
That fucker died in prison, but
that when he gets shot, like it's this movie again, agony all the way through, just awful. And then all of a sudden, this fucking he just shoots him, and you're like, I'm like, what
hey,
the
you
fuck
got a problem with me? That's his
Did the movie change?
You got a problem with me? And he shoots him. It's like, what?
In the whitest drive-by ever, he brought his butler. And
I know. The only thing that's kind of creepy about that is he tried to do it earlier. He shows up earlier to do it, but Buddy's with his family, and he's just like, "Hey, it's Sunday." But he was fucking gonna kill him there, or at least like
in his Napoleon jacket. His overlandish stage style Napoleon jacket.
The message of this movie is never be too rich. Like, you have to be that obscenely rich to be that fucking crazy.
That is like generational crazy inbreeding rich.
Like, they don't talk about it a lot, but like, it's just like that dude is just riddled with cocaine.
That's what I thought, the inbreeding. That's what I thought when I was watching this. I'm like, all these old money, they stick with old money, and then it just becomes inbreeding. Yeah. It's like the royal families, right?
All right. Well,
but also it becomes generations and generations of not actually having to work or do anything. And it's just like, that becomes a degenerative thing itself.
They get mind.
You end up with Donald Trump.
So have either of you guys seen the trailer for this film?
Nope.
Don't make us watch the trailer for this movie. It's gonna skip anyway and fucking. You know what? This trailer lagging will look exactly like the actual fucking trailer. So go for it.
Do you have any idea who I am? Some rich guy calls you on the phone. I wanted to speak with you
I almost picked
about
this
what you
opening
hope to
scene
achieve.
with- calls him in and he's like, hey, you know who I am? I'm this weirdo. This scene here.
What do you hope to achieve, Mark?
What do you hope?
I want to be the best in the world.
Good.
Good.
Oh, I almost hung myself during this scene.
There's a key for you.
Oh.
Also, big house.
I didn't pick any
Soft
scene.
ones.
I didn't pick a favorite scene from this.
Coach DuPont has a vision. He would like Foxcatcher to be the official training site for the national team.
What's he get out of all this?
What are you thinking? This is it. This is all that we've ever wanted.
Mark,
Greg
you have
Ruffalo
been
was
living
such a
in your
weird
brother's
choice for
shadow
that.
your entire
Just-
life.
it didn't
It's
work.
your time.
He was
now.
a bit of an odd choice for this character.
Promise you.
For a wrestler.
I'll give you everything I have.
I am leading men, and I am giving America hope.
I spent my lifetime looking for a father, and I have found one in John DuPont.
It doesn't matter. The sport of wrestling is a low sport, and I don't like to see you being low.
Why is there nobody in
Ride
the gym?
horses.
Yeah, no, I gave it.
You ungrateful ape.
Ungrateful. Hey. I hope this makes sense.
Mark.
Easy.
Good.
Good.
The most frustrating thing about this movie is how
tell me what's going on
weak-willed
with you,
Mark
DuPont.
is.
Hey, what did
Like,
I
you're
just
supposed
say?
to be this Olympic wrestler, but you're just like
Coaches, a father,
callow and like
coaches, a
weak-willed.
mentor. Coach
It
has
doesn't really
great power
make sense.
on an athlete's life. Mark.
In this scene here, everyone should have just fucked off and never came back to that fucking gym again when he walks in with a gun and shoots a hole in the roof.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
everyone's just so fucking dumb in this movie. Like, really fucking dumb.
Yeah, no.
And it's just like, if this is how it played out, then everyone was just really dumb.
Well, they were getting everything they want, right? This is how rich people get away with shit. They got money. Everybody's
that's
enamored with the money.
That's the other thing too. This is a dude that is literally funding these guys to do a sport that is not marketable in many ways, and like as you see in the opening scene, he's doing it. The way this film opens up is with Mark giving a speech to a bunch of elementary kids, and then he's sitting in like the school's office waiting for the secretary to give him a check for $20, which he promptly spends buying a McDonald's meal and like eating that. So it just sort of like gives you that like setup of he has no money, he's in that
It's
desperate
all
situation.
sponsorship for those Olympic style athletes. If you don't have
Yeah,
sponsors,
right.
you're fucked.
So he
was like the
basic-
lesser brother. Like the sponsors would have went to his brother. Like he was
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of like the secondary.
Yeah, Dave Schultz was the bigger, better wrestler than Mark
Well, just-
Schultz.
Yeah. At least at the
Um,
time, Mark was the one who was going to be pushed to the Olympics in this new Olympics, but Dave
Yeah.
was like the known name.
Yeah, he was the known.
And
name,
like
so-
they hint at it in this movie, but like especially in one scene, which is really weird and awkward, but like that there was like some sexual activity going on between Mark Schultz and the rich guy.
John DuPont. Yeah, no, that has been vehemently denied by Mark Schultz, and he's really mad.
Mark Schultz is dead. Oh no, Dave Schultz is dead. Never mind.
Dave Schultz is dead. Mark Schultz is very much alive. He made a
you're right.
documentary about this film, and
He coaches wrestling.
when the movie first came out, he was very vehemently against the fact that Michael Bennett had put that scene in the movie because he's like, none of that shit ever happened, and Michael Bennett's like, the reason why I put that scene in the movie is because I wanted to show that John DuPont was like encroaching in on your safe space basically and was getting really creepy about it. So like that whole scene is just like complete fiction, and that's the type of stuff that just like they're sort of like gaslighting the eerie creepiness of like Steve Carell's like sithering like John DuPont character.
Oh, John DuPont's creepy as shit. You don't have to add
No,
anything
he's
to
like
that.
the actual
Like,
John
you
DuPont.
don't have to
The
fucking add
movie
anything.
morsels I got about
Look
this
at
film
him.
are
Like,
fucking
look at his
wild.
face. That's all I told Murphy. I'm like, Murphy, did you watch Foxcatcher yet? He's like, no. I'm like, just look at a picture of John DuPont before you watch this movie. Because
he's
Steve Carell actually can do the John DuPont's creepy smile, and that's the best part of this movie is just the fact that Steve Carell is that skilled enough at his facial expressions to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But that's the only good thing I'll say about this movie.
Yeah, so basically the whole first act of this film is Mark Schultz is, trying to make money, and he goes to the gym where his brother's at, and he sees that Team USA is there, and they're probably talking about the Olympics. And then you get this sort of weird... At first, I didn't realize that Mark Ruffalo's character was Dave Schultz. I was like, who's this coach, and why is he being so homoerotic with Channing Tatum's character?
It's super weird the way they wrestle. Wrestling's homoerotic anyway, both professional and amateur.
But I've done that, and we don't rub our heads into each other's necks and caress it as we're stretching, or we'll just
rubbing each other in between wrestling.
It was just a
this
little
movie
too
was
over the
very
top.
homoerotic.
It was very weird, very homoerotic, and very creepy, and made you feel icky and dirty.
Which is what he was going for.
Yeah, it's what he was going. What Michael Bennett was definitely going for, obviously, and he pulls it off to a T. But
I don't
sure.
make this a good
but
film.
But he didn't make a good movie in the process.
Exactly. Too many directors I find do that. They're like, as long as I can make you feel icky and weird, I don't have to produce a good movie, and people will tell me I made a good movie. I find that happens a lot. I found there's a lot of examples. People love it, but I would say Requiem for a Dream is that. As long as you feel icky, it doesn't have to be a good movie. And people will tell you it's a good movie because you made them feel something.
Requiem for a Dream is a good
gore
movie.
porn too.
But okay, here's the thing. Requiem for a Dream is a good movie in the sense that these are the dangers of doing heroin. Don't fucking do this drug,
movies don't do cocaine with rich people.
Exactly.
They'll shoot you eventually.
Yeah, because the whole... All right, so before you derail me for the 15th time, the whole setup of this film is Mark Schultz is trying to make some money. And he gets this whole scene with him and Dave Schultz that I found weird. Ultimately, Mark Schultz gets called to have a meeting with Steve Carell's John DuPont character, where you see in that trailer, and he's like,
"Because Dave's making money."
Yeah, Dave's making money because he's
come to me.
teacher.
He's like, "I'm doing fine."
Okay, so Mark Schultz was relatively. He was a coach, but he was fired around that time, so he was struggling looking for work, and he was freaking out about things. Dave Schultz was fine and had things going on for him. So John DuPont comes in basically as this altruistic, money-rich savior that wants to build a wrestling team, and John DuPont is from that rich family of Foxcatchers and horse runners and all that stuff, and
they're weapons dealers, the DuPonts.
Yeah, weapons dealers, right? And he's basically he's got huge mommy issues, and he's always wanted to be a wrestler. But
is there no
wouldn't let him
dad?
be a wrestler.
Clearly, the dad died a long time ago or something. You never hear nothing about no dad.
No, I never hear anything about John DuPont's father. But
no.
Anyway, so basically, John DuPont's got mommy issues. Always wanted to be a wrestler, so he decides to make his own wrestling team, and he brings in Mark Schultz.
Is that what it is? He wanted to be a wrestler.
Yeah, he wanted to be a wrestler.
I couldn't figure out why he was so fucking obsessed with this shit.
Yeah, he always wanted to be a wrestler, but mommy thought it was too low for him, and she doesn't like seeing her baby boy low. Right. So she didn't want to do that. So he gets to the fucking ripe old
He fucking
ages.
hates horses. That scene where he's just how much he fucking hates horses is actually kind of hilarious. That might be the best scene in the movie, actually. I probably should have picked that one.
I told you. Pick a
I
scene,
couldn't think of one. I'm I don't know.
Now you think of them. Okay, well, either way. So, yeah, Mark Schultz has his meeting with Steve Carell, and, he gives him the idea, but he also wants Dave Schultz. He's like, I want both of you. Mark goes back to Dave. Dave's like, nah, I'm good here. Mark's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go. I want you to come with me. But Dave's like, nah, I'm good. So Mark goes back. John DuPont's somewhat, disappointed by it, and he's like, "Oh, you're here."
Really fucking disappointed about it. The shit he says to Mark Schultz. Mark Schultz should have walked out the door 20 different times.
Well, yeah.
He's just like, well, you're a fucking piece of shit, and it's no good without Dave Schultz. So you get your brother here, or fuck you. Like that's how he talks to him all the time. He's just like,
not all the time. It leads up to that. He's at first he's cordial, and he's like, he's tries to be a professional, and he accepts that Dave doesn't want to do it, and there's a few scenes that go on. Like, for instance, this is Kevin's favorite scene. I believe this is the one he wanted, where Mark decides to move in.
Yeah.
Utilities are paid for: gas, electric, water. Kitchen, dining room, refrigerator's fully stocked. Office.
Just a guest house.
Yeah.
Just a guest house. This is.
It's a nice guest house, nice old cabin kind of design.
There's a key for you. Thank you.
But like, it's so lonely. Like every scene with him, he's just alone in this fucking place.
Gym is close.
Like,
You can
it's
almost-
not a good life. Like, I don't understand
Couple
why
of
he's
yards up to the
going
right is the
along
big
with
house,
this at all.
in case you ever get
It's
invited
all
to
just
Because he's
miserable.
desperate,
Otherwise,
Davin.
it
Did
is
we
off
not cover this already?
He's
Also-
desperate,
He has
but
no
he's-
money.
Horses that you
He
sell.
needs
but
money.
He has better ways
They'll
to
belong to
make
Mr.
that
DuPont.
money.
No,
He's
he
an
doesn't.
Olympic
He
he's
just
an
got a
Olympic
$20
caliber
check.
athlete.
He got a
Also
$20 check for fucking a conversation at an elementary school. Clearly, nobody's knocking
Here's
on
your
his
history
door
of DuPont
offering
dynasty.
him money.
He can still get a job.
Well, I'm not going to argue that, but
Just
he
between
wants
you
to
and me.
wrestle. So somebody's
do
going to
both.
If
fund
you happen
him.
to see Mrs. DuPont, just give her privacy. Yeah, of course. Anything else I can get you? No, I'm fine. I think that's
God,
it.
this movie's so quiet, too.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Like,
Literally every scene is a minute longer
Yeah.
than it needs to be. It's like, why?
Because
It
everybody...
is like everybody constantly forgot their lines, but then remembered them a second later. Like,
Yeah.
That's totally it.
They whisper act, and like,
yeah.
I had headphones on. I had my VLC media player turned up. I had my headphones turned up, and I was still like, "What did they just
What?
say? What was that line?
It's
What
like
is
watching
happening?"
Star Trek Discovery.
Like it was so quiet half the time, so it was really hard to pay attention to the major plot points of this film. So like,
Yeah.
admittedly, the first almost hour I wasn't paying that much attention. I was like, I found myself getting distracted and like not really looking away at the movie often. So yeah,
But like the first hour of this movie just keeps repeating itself. It's just like the first hour is actually the most interesting part, because then that first hour just happens again. And then you're like, and then eventually.
well, yeah,
you get
okay.
shot.
So basically,
But, like,
yeah,
it's like,
okay. No, it's not.
Every
no,
scene
you're
happens
oversimplifying.
twice.
You're oversimplifying. It does feel like every scene happens twice. Basically, he brings in Mark. Mark gets like acquainted to everything up to the point where John DuPont's like, you got to come to this fancy political meeting. Don't be afraid of these people. And they fly in a helicopter, and he gives them some cocaine, and that's when Mark starts to spiral out, right? He's like, I don't think I should do this cocaine. He's like, no, it's fine. Just pour
No,
the vial.
man, I'm
Do
rich.
the
That's
whole
all we do.
thing. You know, and then they have their meeting, and then John DuPont gives a speech about how John DuPont was his savior father. Fun fact, not a real speech, never really happened. But so yeah, that's when Mark starts to spiral out, and he starts to grow his hair out, and he's clearly
This
getting
movie's
drunk.
so
and,
full of shit.
yeah, he gets alienated from Dave, and then Dave gets pulled in because he's like worried about Mark, and then Dave decides to take the job with John DuPont, and they go after the 86 Olympics of Seoul, where basically the first time Mark wrestles for Foxcatcher, they win, and it's all like praise and stuff like that. And then like then he gets into the cocaine, and things start to spiral out, and he proceeds to lose. Dave jumps back in. They seem like they're getting back on track. There's this whole thing where Dave is basically trying to cold crash sober Mark back into wrestling. There's even this scene where he's 12 pounds over because he just like gets mad at the hotel and starts eating a bunch of junk food and stuff, right? And I think that's because he lost. Either way,
Yeah, because he was throwing it. He was trying to get disqualified. He was trying to get overweight.
Yeah. He just wanted out at this point because he started to realize John DuPont's like a crazy man, you know, calling him an ape and like freaking out and carrying guns around the facility and stuff like that. Ultimately, Mark ends up losing the Seal Olympics and he just retires from Olympic pro wrestling. And Dave Schultz proceeds to work with John DuPont for like another 6 years before we get to the end.
6 years? That was 6 years.
Yeah, they worked.
I thought that was like a month.
No. This movie took the time frame of like 1983 to like 1989, basically. Like it was a 6-year time frame that they were like jumping in and out of.
It felt like a week. Mark leaves, and then a week later, John DuPont kills Dave Schultz. That's what it felt like in the movie.
Yeah,
did that not what it felt like in the movie?
Not really.
I'm shocked that was years.
Yeah, no, it was a whole years thing. So yeah, there's this whole scene earlier actually, where Mark wins for Foxcatcher, and I kind of forgot about this, but this is my favorite scene. The team Foxcatchers in the trophy room, and Steve Carell is like going on about how the trophy case is like filled with horses.
Horse
and stuff.
trophies.
Yeah, so this is my favorite scene.
Yeah, I had a feeling you picked that scene.
Let's have those medals.
Let's have those medals.
Give me those.
It's just the way he delivers these lines.
Give me those
That's
medals.
hilarious.
He's not bad
I
in
do
this,
not.
actually. Like,
Share my mother's affection.
I would agree
for
with you that
horseflesh.
if without Steve Carell, this is
I'll
the
have you
worst
know.
movie in the history of our podcast. But with him, it might
Did your
not
horse
be the worst.
jump over the thing?
Did your horse jump over the thing?
Did you catch the fox, mother?
Did you catch the fox, mother?
Did you catch the fox, mother?
Anyway,
I don't know. Not his best work. I'm sorry.
proof is in the pudding.
No, it's not his best work. Because he's a comedic actor.
We caught the fox,
We caught the
didn't we?
Yeah.
This is the fox.
He's clearly trying to be something very specific. Like, he got
I'm
a
going
read
to
of
put
who this
these
John DuPont
in there.
character is, and he's very diligently trying to be that.
Yeah, that was my
Whatever
favorite
that is.
scene in the whole movie, just because it's, did you catch the fox, mother?
Did you catch
Just that
the
line
fox,
made me laugh.
mother?
It just made me laugh. I was like, oh my god, that was the best scene in this terrible film. It was the best scene in this entire shitty movie. So yeah, basically, you know, they
wrap
lose,
this
and then
horrible plot up.
they speed run it, and all of a sudden, John DuPont's a crazy man, and like Kevin said,
Yes,
just-
speed run it. 6 years felt like a week.
They-
Speed run it. I've never
just
seen
shoots.
such a horrible jump cut in a fucking movie ever. Like, are
They
you
just
serious?
straight up
Years.
shoots Dave Schultz.
Not to mention Dave Schultz looks the same. They all look the same. It's 6 years later. They all look the exact same. They're wearing the same outfit they wore the week before. Like it.
No, that's not true.
I can't believe it.
Dave Schultz's hair grew longer in the later scenes. His hair was a bit longer.
What? Okay.
Yeah, he had a bigger beard and stuff like that. But yeah, basically, you
While
know,
standing
John
like
DuPont,
this.
not saying like, yeah, no, but John DuPont kills Dave Schultz with 3 white bread
Fucking
gunshots.
nasty way to go.
Yeah,
Like, not kill shots. He just like.
just was like
Yeah.
gunning him.
Not a good way
Like
to go.
not even like, yeah. There's a lot of shit in this movie. Like when I was going through the movie morsels, that
We'll
I
get
just,
there in a sec.
Yeah, it's more
Let's get
interesting
there.
than the
Fuck
actual
this
movie
movie.
itself.
I'm more interested in the morsels in this movie.
Yeah,
So,
basically John DuPont kills Dave Schultz. He gets arrested. End of the movie.
yeah, and movie. Which performance would you hold up?
Not a single one.
Steve Carell, just because of that smile that he does. He can nail that John DuPont smile. But other than that, you're right. It's a clunky performance and not his best. But you could tell he was trying really hard to do a thing, like a certain thing.
He was
He
trying
felt
really
like-
hard to shed that decade of The Office
Yeah.
Yeah.
persona. And it rightfully did that. Everybody was talking about his performance when this film came out.
That's why I was
They were like,
excited. You picked it. I'm like, oh man, I've been actually wanting to watch this movie.
Me too. Me too. I was like, this could hopefully be really fun, wild take on a sports
Not
film.
fun,
It's
wild.
just-
I wasn't expecting fun.
Well, I mean, maybe not fun, but interesting, wild take on a sports genre film, and it was just the driest, blandest, spiceless serving of
so spiceless
murder plot that I've ever been given.
It wasn't even interesting when I didn't know what was going to happen. Like,
but that's worse. I at least knew there was a murder coming. I'm like, why is he gonna murder this fucking guy? Like, but you didn't even have that. I can't imagine watching this movie not knowing.
Yeah, I was just like, where is this fucking movie going?
What's
like,
the point of this goddamn movie? You must have been
we got
thinking
there
the
all
whole
of a sudden.
time, Kevin. Like, you must have been
That's
cursing
kind of
Murphy's
funny.
name this entire 2 hours. You was like, fuck you, Murphy. You know
yeah,
what?
it was painful. It was painful.
I'm sad. I'm sad, and I feel bad that I made you watch this film. But in the hindsight, to find out that you had no idea about this storyline, and this is how you find out, is kind of funny. I think. I think it's a really funny way to find out about John DuPont and all this shit that happened. Yeah.
Which performance, fellas? Like, there's none. There's nothing here. If any of you say Mark Ruffalo, I'm quitting this podcast forever.
His wife.
He's off.
She was the
His
only
wife was
person that
actually
seemed
quite good.
human.
Yeah.
Yes. I changed my pick. Seek Crow was awful. I pick his wife.
And just to put some respect
Dave
on
Schultz's
her
wife.
name. It was Sienna Miller played Nancy Schultz.
Oh, it was Sienna Miller. Yeah, she was good.
Yeah, Sienna Miller knocked it out of the park. I would also probably give it to Steve Carell, and a little part of me does want to give it to Mark Ruffalo. He was the one.
What?
I'm like, at least
Murphy,
he's kind of
you're just
genuine
doing
and
that to be
nice.
controversial because
I'm not.
Kevin said he wanted conflict.
I'm legitimately not doing that to be controversial.
Yes, you are.
I thought Mark Ruffalo's character was like one of the saving acts in this whole film for me.
Why?
Like,
Because you like when people stand like this?
It's not.
Hey, everybody, let's do mummy walk.
It was just like his. It was like his gentleness that I don't know. I found endearing.
You mean his homoeroticism?
Not the homoerotic, just his gentleness towards like Mark. Like when he
was rubbing him.
The moment
rubbing him gently.
At first,
in
I was
a
like, what is
homoerotic
this?
fashion, even though he's like his brother.
At first, I was like, okay, they're being very oddly gay, but then I found out they're brothers, and I was like, okay, so he's not.
They're like the ambiguously gay duo from SNL, but they're brothers. It's worse.
So yeah, I'm gonna.
I can't believe you're like that was the most like blatant attempt of being controversial we've ever had.
It is not. It is not.
Yes, it is.
Mark Ruffalo is the one of the better actors in this film. He gives a genuine
except in this
performance to
movie.
the role. In this film, yes, he is.
No,
he's the better. He's one of the better.
Well, he's
actors
better
in
than
this
Channing
film.
Tatum.
Yeah, he's better than Channing
No, but he's
Tatum.
not though because that hand thing. Like, what kind of a choice is that? It makes no sense. It shows
I'm sorry. A man's choice of position is completely ruining his performance of what he's trying to give on screen for the 90% of the time he's on screen. But that 0.2% where he's looking like Mr. Burns completely
he
ruins
looks
it to
like
such
that
shit
for at
degree.
least 60% of the time. That's what's crazy.
Only when he's on a wrestling match.
No, that's what's crazy. Like,
please, you're having
he literally has a
subjective memory,
conversation
just like
with
you
a
did
guy
with
in a
Medicine Man.
hallway. He has a conversation with a guy in a hallway for like 5 minutes, and he's standing there like this the whole time. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like literally screaming at the TV. I'm like, what?
He's trying to
are you
give Dave
doing?
Schultz's hunchy like fucking body shape. That's if you look at photos of Dave Schultz, he's always like kind of hunched up like.
You mean after wrestling matches?
No, there's even photos of him with his family, and he's just got this sort of shape to him.
Okay, well maybe I'll have to look up that, but like, what?
I don't know what to tell you, bud.
I don't know. It's aesthetic. It's ugly. This movie is just ugly.
Yeah, I don't know. The gym's it's very. It
looks
feels
cheap.
like it's in the
It looks
80s.
kinda
It does.
cheap.
it feels like a cheap version of the 80s, but it's very like cinematic indie film quality to it. There's a lot of dark-ish scenes, like and not a lot of there's a lot of greens, some blue and yellows, and lots of gray, and not a lot of like the color palettes are very
yellow
dry,
and gray
like
is
acting,
the palette for sure.
Yeah, pretty much like yellow, blue, gray, like they're weird palettes, and then like the greens of the. It's very weird atmosphered film. It's a weird.
It's so
setting.
disjointed. It just never feels like a cohesive film at all while you're watching it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, I still can't. I'm trying to put myself in the position of Kevin, not knowing there's a murder happening. I can't imagine watching this movie.
It did make the murder quite a surprise. Because I'm like, this.
He's just like, hey, bud.
You got a problem with me? No, I don't got a problem with you. Blam, blam, blam.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
and
part
I mean-
made no sense. Like, they didn't build up to that at all. Like, they could have made
No,
that
it came out
more
of fucking nowhere. I have no idea.
I agree. This is the biggest flaw with the film. It's like 95% of it's about them being like homoerotic wrestlers.
Yes.
And then the last 5% is like, oh, and there's also a murder. It's like, isn't this
why?
the biggest point of this? Why? Are we not going to explore it? No, it's just happens. It happens. Like,
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, it's just, to me, it's a screenplay problem. Like, maybe it's a director problem because he cut shit, I don't know. But, like, the screenplay makes no sense if it was written this way. Like,
did he cut some shit?
oh, okay, well, let's, all right, we're moving on. All right, let's get there.
Let me say, out of all the movies,
This is going to be the most interesting part of this movie, isn't it?
This is going to be the most interesting part of Foxcatcher, are the movie morsels that I dug out for this film.
Can I say one
my
thing?
goodness.
I would rather have watched a fox for 2 minutes than this movie. Like
An actual movie about foxcatchers?
Yes, like I just want to know a fox. I just want to see a fox frolicking through the fucking woods for 2 minutes. It would have been better than this movie. Give me some David Attenborough talking about a fox for a couple minutes.
Well, I guess we could have watched Disney's Fox and the Hound. I guess technically, you know, sure.
Fox and the Hound. Okay.
So yeah, Foxcatcher
Robin Hood, he's a
2014 isn't the only film that has Disney or Cool Runnings isn't the only Disney Connections films that we have. This movie actually has a very odd Disney connection.
This is not a Disney movie. Murphy.
There's a Disney connection. I'm not saying it's a Disney movie. I'm just saying there is a connection to Disney through this story. Okay. Foxcatcher 2014.
Was one of them on the Mickey Mouse Brigade or some shit?
The movie actually downplays John DuPont's mental illness. DuPont had a whole warped, dark history before the incidents outlined in this movie. He married a woman named Gail Wank and was part of the prerequisites for his inheriting his fortune. He immediately became convinced she was about to be kidnapped after the wedding, and then became convinced she was part of a conspiracy. He wound up putting a gun to her head and accused her of being a Russian spy. Eventually, she would end up leaving him, needless to say. He then donated millions of dollars to Villanova University to start a wrestling program, and they obliged him and allowed him to be the named coach of the program. This went well until one of the male students accused him of making inappropriate sexual advances upon him and sued him as a result.
So there's where the shit.
There are that's where it comes in, yeah. Whereupon the university fired him. He was constantly claiming to see spirits walking around the Foxcatcher grounds, as well as Disney characters.
Look,
and walking
I don't
trees.
like how often we call a cocaine addiction mental illness in the modern world. If you're addicted to cocaine, you do not have a mental illness. You're a fucking coke addict. We have to stop calling coke addiction mental illness. This motherfucker was addicted to cocaine. If you watch this movie and don't realize
hallucinations,
when you do as much as John DuPont, yes.
Okay, sure. I don't know. I've never done cocaine. He also had an accident riding horses, which left him badly injured and led to the removal of his testicles. He was also John
DuPont didn't have testicles.
He was a eunuch. John DuPont was a eunuch. He was also famous for...
This could have been such a more fucked up movie. The real story is more fucked up than this movie.
I'm not even done yet. I just got started. I just got started, Davin. I'm not even done yet. He was also famous for being a loner and had almost no friends for most of his life. And all of this happened years before DuPont started the wrestling camp at Foxcatcher and brought in Mark and Dave Schultz to be coaches and trainees, as well as the famously tragic aftermath of what happened afterwards. According to the documentary Team Foxcatcher 2016, John DuPont became increasingly paranoid in the weeks leading up to the murder of Dave Schultz. He thought Schultz was in his walls and using tunnels under his home to mess with him. Among other things, Mr. DuPont came to hate the color black, saying it was the color of death.
It's not a color, it's a shade.
He's saying it was the color of death. He got rid of all his black horses. People living at his home who drove black cars had to get rid of them, and he fired all the African American wrestlers from the team.
What?
Wow!
Yes.
It was the 80s. You could do that then with no repercussions.
Mark Ruffalo.
Just say they were thuggish.
Yeah. Mark Ruffalo also had a brother who was murdered, although the death remains unsolved.
Mark Ruffalo has a brother who was murdered?
Had a brother who was murdered, and that death remains unsolved. Yeah. Mark Schultz, the real Mark, can be seen as an extra weighing in wrestlers. This is amazing because Schultz hated the final product, particularly the scenes implying there was some sort of subtle, unrequited bromance between him and John DuPont. Schultz took to
I
Twitter
still think there was.
Yeah,
because he's clearly into that, John DuPont. Like he was clearly about that, right?
Yes, he was clearly about that. But Mark is not going to admit such things.
No, he's not going to admit it.
Schultz took to Twitter calling Bennett Miller a pussy and a liar. Later, he apologized for his comments, walking them back and saying Miller's movie is an important movie and is one of the biggest things to happen for Olympic wrestling ever.
What an odd walk back.
Because the project took so many years to get off the ground, many actors were considered for the lead roles. Heath Ledger, Ryan Gosling, and Bill Nighy. N-I-G-H-Y? Nighy, yeah. Bill Nighy.
You know him. He's in Shaun of the Dead, a million things.
Okay.
He dates the mother in Shaun of the Dead.
Okay, were strongly considered for the lead roles in the early stages of production. According to
Nighy would have been Steve Carell's role, obviously.
Probably, yeah. According to Bennett Miller's comments at a screening, a rough cut of the film was more than 4 hours long.
All right, I'm done. We're canceling this fucking podcast. I've had enough. I can't take any more, Murphy.
Miller also thought this cut would be suitable for an audience to view, but then spent a year editing the film down to its final over 2-hour length, as the film was originally supposed to be released in 2013.
I have a question for you, Murphy. Has this Bennett Miller ever directed a movie since?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a great fucking question.
He has not.
Exactly.
He has not actually.
See my mic?
He's still working
right now.
He's still working on his
one
current film. Yeah,
it's going to be 27 hours long.
Apparently,
what is it going to be about?
Okay, he's directed he directed the film Moneyball and Capote. Those are
he directed Moneyball.
He directed Moneyball.
Moneyball's an amazing movie.
He directed Moneyball and Capote.
What? Why didn't you pick Moneyball instead of this piece of shit? It's from the same director.
It does make sense. Like Moneyball's a good movie, but it does have some of that tortured dialogue, like that. That's a director's choice for sure. Because every character in this does it.
Moneyball could have been a half hour shorter as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But at least it's way better than this movie.
When the wrestlers are shown watching an Ultimate Fighting Championship, the year is 1987. Although the match is
there is no UFC in 1987.
Although the match shown is UFC 8, which took place in 1994, the winning fighter in the match shown is Gary Goodridge, who Mark Schultz would later fight when he joined the UFC and competed in UFC 9 in Detroit, Michigan. Nancy Schultz, who is Dave Schultz's widow, gave Mark Ruffalo her husband's glasses. The glasses Ruffalo wears in the film are Dave's actual glasses. In real life, John DuPont murdered Dave Schultz 8 years after Mark Schultz lost the SEAL Olympics. After the murder of DuPont...
fucking years? That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's crazy, Murphy. This movie is the worst.
After the murder...
8
DuPont...
years.
Yeah.
They would look like completely different people.
Right, but here's the better part. Not only did they do the 8-year time jump, after the murder, DuPont retreated to his mansion where he negotiated with police over the phone for 2 days before being arrested after his house's power
That's
was
more
cut.
interesting than this entire movie. I would rather see that 2-day negotiation with friggin' hostage negotiators than this movie. Oh my god!
Instead of them just tackling him as he walked out, like that was the worst scene of the whole movie. They're just like ants just on him, like it's fucking crazy.
And so apparently he was in his house for 2 days. They shut the power off, and he steps out of the house to get the generators going, and that's when they arrested him. Okay. This one made me laugh when I read it. Even though it's only implied in the movie, Mark Schultz explains in his book that DuPont created a wrestling move called the Foxcatcher 5, where one wrestler would grab the other wrestler's testicles with all 5 fingers. DuPont...
That's called foreplay.
DuPont, who had also approved the funds for Villanova University to build an athletic arena and start a wrestling program in '86, was let go 2 years later after facing charges of sexual abuse.
DuPont thought that would be his advantage, right? He doesn't have testicles. You can't grab his. So
that's right, right?
That's
Like,
a really
grab
good
my
point,
testicles.
actually. I didn't think of that. Say hi to the audience, though, baby.
Yeah, a Villanova coach was fired because he had refused DuPont's homosexual advances. In the mirror bashing scene, Channing Tatum broke the mirror, which was not in the script. He got so into his role that it led to him to act with such intensity, and the cut on his forehead was genuine. So when he like headbutts the mirror, he was going crazy.
Is it weird that I've lost respect for Channing Tatum for getting that into this fucking piece of shit movie?
And these are the final two ones that I found also very interesting. One of the young wrestlers that Dave Schultz trained was Kurt Angle. The Kurt Angle, who would end up being a WWE and TNA wrestling star. He was part of the Team Foxcatcher at the time of the movie's events, preparing for the '96 Summer Olympics. He won gold for Team USA in the heavyweight class and dedicated the medal to Dave Schultz's memory.
2 minutes of Kurt Angle is more entertaining than this movie.
Agreed. Yeah. Any minutes of Kurt Angle is more entertaining in this movie. Yes, John DuPont's own 1983 marriage dissolved after just 90 days when his wife realized that she was going to end up dead if she didn't leave. DuPont had tried to stab and strangle her, pushing her into a fireplace and shove her out of a moving car.
Everyone's so fucking stupid in this movie and in this real life situation. They're all so stupid. It makes it almost like it pulls you out of it. Like
those who knew him realized that he could snap at any moment. Alcohol and drugs didn't help the matter and only fueled his delusions, which included believing that his horses were sending him messages from Mars.
No, because he ingested more actual metric tonnage of cocaine than food.
And then 1996 Olympic champion Kurt Angle and friend of pupil Dave Schultz says that he and the other wrestlers at Foxcatcher should have better realized how dangerous John DuPont was, given his behavior and the fact he carried a gun everywhere.
Well, he's American.
Yeah. Cinematography by Greg Fraser, edited by Stuart Levy, Connor O'Neill, and Jay Cassidy. Music by Rob Simonson. Release date May 19th, 2014. A runtime of 134 agonizing minutes. A budget of $24 million and a box office.
$24 million? Why? Where did they spend
that? Probably Steve Carell.
On the special effects?
$19.2 million. Yeah. Box office $19.2 million. There's a lot of like helicopters and stuff like that in this movie too. Those aren't cheap.
And if they were going to take liberties with the story, why didn't they have him kill Dave Schultz with the 50 caliber on top of that fucking tank. Like
Why
that
did
would
they
have been a
fucking
better
kill
drive-by,
everybody?
right?
Well,
Why
okay,
didn't you just go in there and fucking waste the whole room? Fuck it.
So actually, okay, that's a good point. Thanks for bringing this up. I forgot to write this down. So the way the whole
That's a good
killing scene
point.
the way
This
the whole
movie's
killing
fucked.
scene, the way the whole killing scene happened, right, is basically is exactly how it happened in the movie.
He just walks up and is just like, "Hey, you got a problem with me?" And he fucking shoots him.
Nancy Schultz sees this all go down. Everything that goes down is exactly how it happens. Nancy Schultz sees Dave get killed. John pointed a gun at her. She's called the cops. And
She
like
runs
everything,
inside.
She runs inside. All this stuff. Not only is it like verbatim for how it happened, when they were filming the scene, Nancy Schultz was on set counseling and consoling the shots and how it was done, basically making her relive that whole scenario again.
Why would you do that to her? Like, that's so crazy, and it's not worth it for this piece of shit movie. Like, if you're making a good piece of art, then that's one thing. Like,
I agree though. The murder just comes out of nowhere, and it's just like they could have added so many more scenes, and that's probably where the other 2 hours of this film is.
also, the butler is a piece of shit. The butler has like several seconds when he sees John DuPont pulling out this gun to do something. Instead of trying to stop him, he just like
You should have stopped him after the first shot, and he just like, "What are you doing?" And he gets out of the car and
Gets
hides.
out of
It's
the
like,
car.
put your hands on the feeble old man and make the gun go down. Like, dude, he was a shit. Like, he had like the scene where he's wrestling, where he's like, here he's wrestling another old man. It's just like one of the most like cringy
like
scenes.
senior contest. Yeah.
It's just like
but
the old
but
scene.
which was thrown. Like, they pay off that other old man. Like,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He's like,
okay, let's talk about this movie less. Rewatchability. No.
I actually tried to watch it.
Actually, don't watch it once.
I tried to watch it a second time today, and I couldn't.
Why?
I couldn't make it.
Wow.
Kevin,
So
your dedication is a tribute to you. Sir.
No. I tried. I failed.
But even trying is more than I would have done.
How far did you get?
About 20 minutes, and I was like, "No, I hate this."
That's pretty good. Even that's pretty good, Kevin. I appreciate your dedication to this podcast. I watched this movie like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm not. I was not gonna even like read a fucking summary about what it's about. This is like,
I watched it yesterday, and it was oof. It was oof. Good lord, it was oof. What a bad film. No rewatch.
Does it hold up?
No.
No.
If you want to know the story,
it's not as bad as Southland Tales, but it's one of the worst movies we've ever encountered on this podcast.
Easily one of the worst films I've ever picked. I was disappointed. I was expecting better of this, considering the subject matter, considering the rich tapestry of chaos they could have like gotten from.
Using a fancy word like tapestry doesn't make this movie any better, Murphy.
I think maybe we need a Bennett Miller cut of Foxcatcher. We need to see the 4-hour action.
Is that like a Snyder cut?
Yeah, there's a 4-hour version of this movie, Davin. A 4-hour version. There's another 2 hours of Steve Carell.
That's actually offensive. Like, as a human being, I'm actually offended that there's a 4-hour cut of this movie.
And Michael Bennett thinks that's acceptable. He thinks the 4-hour one's good. And he had
Michael Bennett is everything that's wrong with this world. Sorry, Michael Bennett. I don't know you personally, but that's too much for me.
Even Ursula agrees. She's upset over this.
Upset my baby, Michael Bennett. You know what?
Your terrible
Listen
film
to
is
her.
ruined.
And she's very cute. And now she's very upset. And it's all your fault.
Yeah. No, this film doesn't hold up.
Not at all.
Whatsoever.
All right, let's rank these beasts. Well, for me, it's
Surprise,
cool.
motherfucker.
Surprise, motherfucker. But it's like it's Cool Runnings, 8 Men Out, Foxcatcher. I don't even want to say it. anyway.
Yeah, for me, it's 8 Men Out, Cool Runnings, and Foxcatcher.
I would go the same. 8 Men Out.
I can't believe you guys like
Cool
8 Men Out
Runnings
more than Cool Runnings. But whatever.
It was good. There wasn't a moment in that movie where I felt bored. I was like in it from beginning.
What
to
about
end.
the last third where you said you were bored?
Well, I mean, it was a little boring in the sense. That it was just
Were you
like-
bored during the last third of Cool Runnings? No, you were not, sir.
Debatable.
What? No, that's
Debatable.
last third is like the best of Cool Runnings.
Debatable. I feel like them on Jamaica, like learning how to become bobsledders, is the best part of the film. But
Yeah. Crashing into the police car, shit like that.
Right. Where is this? We're bobsledders. What? Where's our coach? He's right there.
I have an angry baby all of a sudden. So let's get this show on the road here. Well, let's bring it up here. Hold on.
I think he is pulling up our rankings list. Let's add at this stage. Foxcatcher is a C, rightfully so. Bottom of the barrel, in my opinions. Even worse than the other terrible movies that we've picked. It's really just the worst movie we picked, I think.
It's
What were the other
awful.
ones what were the other ones that you suggested? Not Southland Tales, but there's other two.
Southland Tales and
Shithouse.
Shithouse is worse than this.
Shithouse is worse than this film. The Shithouse, Foxcatcher's better than Shithouse, but Shithouse is worse. And yeah, and then we've got Cool Runnings and 8 Men Out in the A category, as they should be, because they are A+ movies. So yeah, those are sports movie rankings, and they are added to the list. We've still got a better category of A movies than B and C, which I think is a testament to this podcast. We got a good selection of things going on.
Everybody that comes on is pretty good at picking movies.
Yeah, agreed. Everyone that comes on is pretty good at picking movies, and we appreciate people like you coming on, Kevin. Is there anything you want to let the people know where they can find more sweet Kevin Millard action in their day?
Right here. That's it.
Right here. right here on the United Federation of Podcasts. Sometimes you review some Live Long and podcast, some Star Trek with the fellas.
Yep. Other than that, not really an online presence.
That's fair. If you want Kevin Millard, you've got to get it specifically here at the United Federation of Podcasts.
Exclusive. I'm exclusive to the United Federation of Podcasts.
Man's on exclusive contract over here. Oh, Davin just got the handoff. It looks like he's gonna be setting up for his final take.
I'm back. That was a very angry baby. And it's all your fault, Michael Bennett, or whatever the shit your name was. Bennett, no, it was Bennett some shit. Bennett. Whatever your name was, Bennett. Look, this movie was offensive in its length and how bad it was. But let's we're not even talking about Foxcatcher anymore, are we? We're talking about our podcast in general. And
we're looking for your final take there, Davin.
Oh, my final take. Okay. Look, there's a million baseball movies. Some of them are good. Some of them aren't. You know what? Most baseball movies are actually pretty good. But Olympic wrestling movies, I don't know if there's any more of them. But until I find out if there is, avoid Olympic wrestling movies. My final take is actually more gonna be inspired by Cool Runnings, which is if you're not enough without the gold medals, then you will never be enough with it. And that's like the best thing we can take from all of this. Like John DuPont needed something before the cocaine. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not enough without the cocaine, you're not enough with it. That's my final take.
Okay.
Sports is
Final
a
take, there you
hard
go.
game, man. Like, I don't know. I feel like the older you get, the more you just like have to move away from sports. When you're a kid, sports seem awesome, and when you're a teenager, they seem awesome. Then you become an adult, and you're just like, why should I care? That's my final take. Like,
And if you're an
sports are
adult
just
that
like
loves
a game.
sports,
Like, don't take sports any more seriously than you take a game of like Yahtzee. Seriously, that's my advice. There's my final take. There's my final take right there. I'm even gonna bring up the logo for that. Yep. Like, I used to be a sports fanatic, and now I don't like any sports except for people beating the shit out of each other in a cage.
Okay,
And
so if you're a sports
even
fanatic,
that, I don't like anyone involved with that sport. I just like the competition. Like, anyway.
Anyway, you said anyway. You've stopped a sentence and then you've started a sentence every time I try to start a sentence. Are you gonna start another one? Are you good? Are you done? Are you done? You're done? Good. Okay.
I don't know.
Awesome.
Stand
If you're
like
a
Dave
sports
Schultz
fan-
for a minute.
If you're a sports fan like Dave
There you
Schultz,
go.
you should leave your comments and let Davin know how correct
How
he is
wrong
or
I
not.
am. That's
don't know.
fine.
Either
I was a sports fan. Like, you have no idea. I was the biggest sports fan and biggest professional wrestling fan.
And we're the United Federation of Podcasts, where we keep a bunch of podcasts going, including like Live Long and podcasts, where we talk about Star Trek. And we've got Trivial Debates, where we're going to have an Avatar The Last Airbender show coming up this Sunday. Super Mater's Brother podcast, where they, cover Big Brother.
That new
Survivor.
Netflix show is great, by the way. I'm not all the way through it, but check that out. The
Avatar Airbender
Yeah.
Netflix show. Oh God,
Yeah.
I couldn't get past the first 25 minutes.
What? You're crazy.
Yeah. Aiming on Track, where they talk about music. Graphic Histories with Andre Mayette, where he's interviewing all the top stars and writers and artists in comic books. Who's also a co-host of X-Rated, the X-Men animated review
The best
show.
X-Men podcast on the air waves.
Listen, if you want to listen to Davin just jizz his pants about X-Men 97, you know where to go, because I think
It's
he's
so
still
good.
trying to. He's like Stan Marsh in that one photo. You know the photo.
Good.
That's Davin when it comes to X-Men 97.
Like, fuck all these shit movies. Go watch X-Men.
Yeah.
There's my final take. Actually, hold on. We're redoing final take.
No, we're not. We've done the final take.
Final take. Go watch X-Men 97 instead of all these pieces of shit movies. No, wait. Cool Runnings is good. And 8 Minutes okay. But even still, go watch.
Okay. That's we're done here. This is the end of the show. Thank you so much, and as always, enjoy the movies. Good God, I gotta get out of here. Good, where is it? Where's my clothes?